قريب وبشر المؤمنين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر وسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. بحرمة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطه المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you very much. Bishop Baker, please.
Lord God of mercy, truth and grace and love, as we continue in the sittings of the Trrc, we pray, Lord, that your Holy Spirit will continue to temper the hearts and minds of all those who are here and those that will be listening even through media. We pray that it will be possible for us to receive the truth and to be possible for us also to reconcile ourselves to one another as brothers and sisters in this land that you have planted us. We ask that everything move on smoothly to your honor and to your glory. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much. May the Almighty accept our prayers, bless our proceedings, and guide us through these moments. Council, we start the day. Is your witness ready?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, all. The witness is ready, and we can start now.
You may bring in the witness, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps before we swear in this witness, I just wish to remind that yesterday we did indicate that we would wish to have the statement of Mr. Abubakar Jeng included in the record as an exhibit. That process had not yet been completed yesterday. May I now again ask that you order that the statement of Mr. Abubakar Jeng be added in the record as an exhibit. If you so agree, Mr. Chairman, the exhibit number shall be exhibit 0007.
Request granted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Witness, may you stand up, please, and take the oath.
I, Mamad Cham.
I, Mamad O.A. Cham.
Swear that I'll speak the truth.
Swear that I'll speak the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Good morning, Mr. Cham. Thanks for appearing before this commission. Are you okay to start proceedings?
Good morning, lead counsel and members of the commission. Good morning, the press and members of my family. Very well, I am very, very ready to continue.
Thank you very much. Let me just prepare your mind to the issues that we will discuss with you. The first thing would be your biographical information, your career in the GNA, a historical of the Gambia National Army, the conditions that prevailed in the Army between 1990 and 1994, the factors that led to the coup d'etat of July 22nd, 1994, how the coup unfolded and the role you played in that, your eventual fallout with the junta and detention at Mile 2 prison, the events that occurred at Mile 2 prison on 6th September 1994, the detention of Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara and the things that happened to them there, your eventual release from detention, life after your release and how you came back into the army. And then lastly, we would give you an opportunity as a victim and also a senior member of the Gambian National Army to state your views and concerns, the lessons learned, and the recommendations you would want to make to the Commission. Are we clear with that?
Very well, we are very clear.
Thank you. What is your full name, please?
My name is Mamat Cham.
What is your date of birth?
Well, I was born around 1961.
Around 1961 is quite an interesting answer. Do you have a fixed date of birth known to you? If not, we would accept that answer.
Certainly, I think, then, because I am from a village, so precise dates were not known then. But certainly, they can always indicate events, and then I situated later on to the 9th of September, 1961.
Thank you very much for that answer. Where were you born?
I was born in Kirembuguma village, Lower Nyomi, Nabang Division.
Where do you live now?
Presently, I have a compound in Sukuta Salaji, and that is where I am living.
Can you tell us briefly your educational background?
I was enrolled in Charmen Primary School, which is about 2 kilometers from Mbuguma. After 6 years of primary education, sat to the common entrance and went to Cap Island Junior Secondary School. This was in 1973. And then after 4 years of education, I left school in 1977 at around the age of 16, 17 years.
What did you do after you finished Cap Island Secondary School?
Well, unfortunately, I was unable to proceed to high school, so I hunted for a job, and I think initially I got a temporary job with the Ministry of Local Government as a registration clerk. Those were then the people who go around the country to register citizens for elections. So it gave me the first opportunity to travel wide in the country at that time.
For how long did you do that job?
I think, as I said, the job was temporal. It was around 6 months, and then after that, it was over. So I went back to where I was.
Did you find another job?
Yes. After that one, I also enrolled to do some private studies, and then eventually start to the GCE level. But after the GCE level, I also taught 1 year as an unqualified teacher. And then following that, I started to run examination with the then Gambia Cooperative Union, and then passed and went through some 4 weeks or 6 weeks of training at the then Yundum Training Center. And eventually, I was appointed as a second supervisor and posted to Nyani Maro in the Nyanija district.
And for how long did you work at the cooperative union?
I worked for 2 years plus some months. Then I think it was, my first year was around 80. The 1981 coup met me at Bakadaji Nyani Maro. Then the following season I also worked, and then after that I left.
Did you pursue any education during that period?
Yes, returning to Banjul, I went back to private studies and then sat to the GCA level. And this was in 83, going December 83.
What did you do after your A-levels?
After my A-level, I think there was this news that a new national army was to be set up. And then around May or so, May, June, I started the process of enlisting in the Gambian National Army.
Could you tell us about that, please? Your enlistment into the army?
I was enlisted into the Gambia National Army on the 16th of July, 1984. And then I went through basic military training and eventually passed out around November, or November, December. Precise dates are, are not distinct now, but then eventually after the 6 months of basic training, we passed out.
You indicated that at that time the army was being set up, so you decided to enlist. Would I take it from that yours was the first batch of military intake?
Yes, we were designated as the first batch of the Gambia National Army.
And what happened after you finished your training?
After the training, we had a 2 weeks leave. Then, following our return to Yundum Barracks, a junior NCO cadre was set up, and I was shortlisted for the cadre. I went through the cadre, and then I think I qualified and was to be appointed as a Lance Corporal, which is the first rank in the Army. Then, before I was decorated, a commission selection board was also set up, and then I was also shortlisted to go through the commission selection board.
And what was the result of the selection board with regards to you?
Well, thank God I passed, and then I was promoted to the rank of an officer cadet.
Were you alone in that promotion?
No, I think if I can remember well now, there was another soldier, Modu Kamara, Sam Jiba, I think if I can remember also Modu Baji was also part of the soldiers, and then we had some civilians, among which were Pasala Jan, Lawrence Jara, and one Gassama.
And you were all promoted to the rank of officer cadet, correct?
No. I think among the soldiers, it was myself, Modu Kamara, and Sam Jiba who made it through. And then among the civilians, I think Pasala Jan and Lawrence Jara made it through.
What were they to become, Pasala Jan and Lawrence Jara?
Well, following them passing the officer selection board, they had to go through recruit training like any other soldier. And I think eventually they were enlisted and then were trained as soldiers before eventually they were sent on to do some officer basic training courses.
Following your promotion to officer cadet, did you pursue any further training?
Certainly. After my promotion to the rank of an officer cadet, I served briefly in Yundum. And then in April, we had some scholarships from the United States government. It was referred to as an IMET, International Military Education and Training Program, which were grants from the American government. And then I was selected together with then Officer Cadet Babukar Jata and Officer Cadet Sise, Fabakar Sise, to proceed to the United States for military training.
Do you recall which year this was?
This was around May 1985.
And how did that training go?
Well, we proceeded to the United States, and our first port of call was San Antonio at the Lackland Air Force Base, where we did, I think, about 16 weeks of specialized English, because it was a prerequisite of any American training that allied students should undergo a specialized English course before they go on to their follow-on training in other training bases.
And did you eventually make it to Fort Benning?
After graduating from Lackland Air Force Base, we went on to the Fort Benning, which was the home of the infantry, to do the infantry officer's basic course.
Did you pursue other trainings apart from infantry basic course?
After the infantry officer basic course, I also did a motor infantry platoon commander's course, and I also did an airborne training, which was what we call parachute, before moving on to another training base, which was, I think, the Special Warfare Center in North Carolina, where I also did a course in civil affairs and an instructor's course.
Do you recall when you returned to the Gambia?
Yes, I think the whole package lasted for about 13 months, and I eventually returned to the Gambia sometimes in 1986.
What did you do upon your return to the Gambia?
It was the tradition that after returning from an extended period of training, you are given what is called a disembarkation leave, which was for 2 weeks. After that, I reported to Yundum, and eventually I was posted to the then Confederal Battalion at the Kudang camp.
Do you recall which period this occurred?
If I can remember, this was late 86, 87, I think so.
For how long did you serve in Kudang?
I didn't stay very long in Kudang. I think 1 month into my postings at Kudang, there was an occurrence at the Katong deployment, which was also another camp of the then Confederal Battalion. The officer who was posted at Katong, then Lieutenant Wilson, I think had a football match. The soldiers had a football match with the villagers, and then after they were defeated by the villagers, I think it didn't go down well with them, and then there was some quarrels, and then I think he decided to impose a curfew. So he was recalled, and then I was substituted in his stead.
What rank did you hold in Kudang at this time?
Well, upon returning from basic training, it was the tradition in the army that young officers would do at least 2 years or 3 before you move on to the next rank. So I was a second lieutenant.
And what position did you hold in Kudang?
I was a platoon commander.
And when you were moved in Katong to replace Lieutenant Ben Wilson, which position did you hold there?
I was still a platoon commander. The only difference was that this was a detached platoon, which means you have no immediate supervision from a senior officer. You are on your own, and then you had a group of men and was given an area of responsibility to patrol and also to train and administer your troops.
And for how long did you serve in this capacity in Katong?
If I can remember very well, I served about 18 months before eventually I was posted back to Yundum, and I was replaced by then Lieutenant Samsudin Sar.
And at Yundum, what role did you now come to be assigned?
I was posted to then Alpha Company as a platoon commander. By then, I have also been promoted to the rank of a lieutenant, that is 2 pips, and then I was also designated as the company 2IC, the second in command.
Which company was this?
This was Alpha Company.
Did you eventually move from the Alpha Company?
Yes, sir. I think after a period of service at the company, I think I was promoted to the rank of a captain, and then I was appointed as the adjutant of 1 infantry battalion.
What does the role of adjutant entail?
Adjutant in an infantry battalion is more like the secretary to the commander. You coordinate the administration of the battalion. Of course, you have a pool of what is called an orderly room That is where all the write-ups are made, but you make the write-ups for the commander. In a proper regimented army, the adjutant is normally the most junior captain. So, but because of the appointment, you do the work for the commander for him to go and play golf or whatever.
Would you agree that makes you closer to the real power within the barracks?
Well, you are a confidant and a trustee to the commander. And then most of the time, when policies are made, you have some input and influence, yes.
Would you consider that as a privileged position?
Well, you can call it a privileged position, but then it was like a merit-based appointment because they consider your competence not only as an officer, but also your integrity and your ability to write.
And for how long did you serve as adjutant?
I think I served for over 1 year. And then eventually I was succeeded by, then I think, if I can remember very well, Captain Ann, and I was posted to Bravo Company as the company commander.
And do you recall which year this occurred?
I think this was, if I can remember, the chronology is a little bit distinct, but I think it was between 91, around 91. And then I think I didn't stay long as a company commander. I eventually was sent to Pakistan at the School of Infantry in Quetta to do my mid-career course, which was the company commander's course.
What did you do upon your return from Pakistan?
Upon my return to Pakistan, if I can remember, either before or after going to Pakistan, there was a moment whilst I was the commander of Bravo Company when there was a mutiny by some of the soldiers who had returned from Liberia before.
Can you tell us about that mutiny?
Well, the soldiers, I think, had some dissatisfactions about their conditions. I think the claim was that they were promised that they would be paid upon their return a bonus, which I was not aware of, but then they discussed among themselves, and then not all of them, a group of them, decided to do a mutiny, but this was a mutiny without violence. They decided that they were not going to report for their normal duties, and then gathered around the commander's office.
What happened when they gathered around the commander's office?
When they gathered, I think the commander consulted with some of the officers, and then we decided to take them to one of the training rooms, and I think he also invited the then gendarmerie commander, who was a Major Pasala Jain, and then there was also the British training team. There was a lieutenant colonel, I forgot the name, and one sergeant major, I think, if I can remember, it was Selos. We spoke to them and then told them that that was against the military order, and that if they had any grievances, they should channel it politely, and then it will be adjudicated and dealt with according to the army rules then existing.
Who was the commander of the army at this time?
The commander of the army was Colonel Ndaunjai, Mamadou Ndaunjai then.
Did the soldiers accept or heed to the advice they were given?
No, certainly they didn't. I think after 1 or 2 hours of bantering, some of them decided to bust out of the room, and then some attempted even to rustle some guns from our security deployment, which then, as the company commander in charge, we resisted and then drove them out of the barracks.
What happened after that?
After that, they went to the road from Birkama heading to Westfield. I think they commanded a GPTC bus then, and then headed to Banjul.
Do you know what happened in Banjul when they arrived there?
I think we were able to contain them briefly at the bridge, and then later they were allowed to assemble at the then Makati Square, where the commander of the JN and then Daunjai eventually joined them with Pasala Jain, and then went to the presidency. And then after some discussion, they came and then were able to convince them to calm down and then to return to the barracks.
Do you recall the date this event occurred?
Certainly not, but I think it was within the general time. But the exact date I cannot recall. It must be in the historical records. I'm sure you can dig it out.
1990, would it be at around that time?
1990, 91. I'm not very sure, but I think it was a very significant happening, so we can locate the dates very well.
How many soldiers participated in this mutiny?
I think, if I can recall, between 60 to 80, if I can remember.
Were any officers involved?
No officer was visible, no officer was mentioned. I think it was led by non-commissioned officers. The one I can remember then was one Sergeant Drame, and then there was also another Lance Corporal Bojang from Birkama.
Were any disciplinary measures taken against any of these soldiers?
Yes, I think when they eventually were persuaded to come back to their senses, they were brought to Yundum, and then we gathered them around the training pitch, and then after addressing them, we detained some of them and took them to Mile 2.
Why did the army do that?
Well, as I said, mutiny is not part of the business of a soldier. The soldier's lot is to do what he is told. If he has any complaints or any this thing, he can politely make his case within the chain of command, and then I'm sure within the space of the military justice system, if the complaints are genuine, it could be addressed.
Do you recall how many soldiers were taken to Mile 2 prison?
I think not all the 80 were taken. We screened them, and those who were found to be the instigators were taken. And then after that, I think there was a board of inquiry, a BOI, that was set up, if I can remember very well. Then Permanent Secretary of Local Government, I think, Mr. Tal, is currently serving, I think, in Nigeria in our mission as the ambassador of the Gambia to Nigeria, was the head of that inquiry.
And what happened to your career in the military after that?
Following that, I was posted to Liberia as the 4th Contingent Commander to take over from, I think, then Captain Abdoulaye Conde.
What did you have to do in Liberia?
In Liberia, I was not only the contingent commander for the Gambian detachment, but I was also a contingent commander assigned by my government to the headquarters of ECOMOG. And I was appointed, my appointment at the ECOMOG, which was reserved for Gambians, was to be the camp commandant of the headquarters, responsible for coordinating the security of the ECOMOG headquarters.
What kind of operation was this?
This was then earlier on, I think the West African states had deployed to Liberia a military contingent to go and try to bring sanity into the then civil war. and then, to make sure that, they facilitate a peaceful environment for negotiation. So my assignment coincided with a brief lull in the Liberian Civil War, but it eventually escalated back to a fight.
This was a peace enforcement mission, correct?
Yes, it was a peace enforcement mission, certainly.
And for how long did you remain in Liberia?
I was in Liberia for a better part of, I think, 1 year, 4 months, 6 months, precisely.
And what did you do when you returned?
Upon return to the Gambia, I think after the disembarkation leave, I reported back to Yundum. Eventually, I was also nominated to go to proceed to Nigeria to the Command and Staff College at Jaji to do a course as a JD, what we call JD, Junior Division Staff Course.
Do you remember when this took place?
I think the course was about 5-6 months, and then I left the Gambia and returned before end of December 1993.
And what did you do after your return in end of December 1993?
Upon my return, I was posted to the 2 Infantry Battalion, which was then being set up in Farafenye, as a company commander, and also being the most senior captain. I was appointed as the second in command to the then commander, who was a Nigerian Lieutenant Colonel Salik.
And for how long did you stay in Farafenye?
I stayed in Farafenye for, I think, 5 months, because from January, I reported for duties around January. Then by end of June, if I can remember, or thereabout, I was recalled and reposted to the Army headquarters as Staff Officer 2 in charge of operations and training.
You mentioned a Colonel Salik, that you worked under him as the 2IC, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Salik is not Gambian, is it?
Certainly not. He was part of the Nigeria Army Training and Advisory Group, which was earlier contacted by the Gambia government, and through their bilateral relationship with the sister Republic of Nigeria, they were asked to come in and help in the restructuring and the retraining of the then Gambia National Army under the command of Brigadier General Dada.
You telling us that the name of the group was NATAG, N-A-T-A-G, Nigerian Army Training Advisory Group. Apart from training, did the Nigerians carry out any other functions apart from training and advisory function? Did they carry out any other functions?
I think the consequences of the mutiny I earlier mentioned was that after we settled the problem, the then Commander Ndao Njai was redesignated. I think he was posted as the Gambian ambassador to France. And then in the interim, Major Mawa Diop was appointed as interim commander of the Gambian National Army. And then during that period, it was during that period that the government of the Gambia approached the then government of Nigeria under, if I can remember, General Babangida. And then I think there was an assistance package to the Gambia in the form of a military training and advisory group composed of a high-level senior officers and junior officers and non-commissioned officers under the command of Dada, who was tasked to command, not only to train, but also to command the Gambia National Army.
Do you recall when the Nigerians arrived in the Gambia? What time?
Again, the precise dates were not very clear, but I think either I was out on that posting in Liberia, or certainly I cannot remember precisely the date.
Would you say they were already in position when you returned from Liberia?
Certainly, because whilst I was there, we had a visit by General Dada to the field, which was a usual procedure. Whenever troops are posted in a conflict zone, it becomes the duty of whoever is commanding them to visit them periodically, to review their conditions and see whether they were properly being commanded and whether the objectives for which they were deployed was being carried out.
Yeah. From your answers, it appears that you're suggesting that the Nigerians also took up command position. Is that correct?
Certainly. Not only were they asked to train the Gambia National Army, but as you would recall, then when Ndaw was appointed as an ambassador to France, I think there was no senior officer earlier on. Then Colonel Gay, Lieutenant Colonel Modou Gay, was also retired for some reason. And then most of the highest echelon of the Gambian command was a major, which was Major Maba Diop, and then Major Malik Njai. Malik Njai was not a combat regular commission officer. He was a medic, and Maba Diop was briefly appointed as the interim commander. But I think the wisdom of the then government, they felt that there was a need to bring in more mature, if I may call it, if I may use the word, or more seasoned officers to help us through to set up the proper army and establish the proper regimentation that all professional armies will require.
And in that arrangement, the Nigerians also assumed command responsibility for the Gambia National Army. Is that right?
Very well, that is true.
Could you kindly describe to us the levels at which the Nigerians were placed as commanders? I
think the position of the commander, Gambia National Army, was a Nigerian. There was also two full batch colonels, Colonel Awonibi and Colonel Akoji, who were appointed as, one was Colonel G1 and the other was G2. One was responsible for training and operations, the other was responsible for admin and logistics. And then below them, we had the battalion commanders. There were also two Nigerian lieutenant colonels. One was appointed commander of the 1 Infantry Battalion in Yundum. The other was the Colonel Salik I earlier mentioned, was appointed the commander of the then 2 Infantry Battalion in Farafenye. And below them, we had various staff officers, and some of them were lawyers, some of them were doctors, there were other officers who were appointed in the training roles, etc., etc.
How about command of the fighting forces of the troops themselves?
I think if you know the structure of an infantry battalion, which was then made up of 3 infantry companies and 1 what we call an admin company. So the 3 infantry companies made up of 3 platoons. As I said earlier, a company in a normal army is commanded by a captain, a senior captain, or a major. And then the platoons were commanded by lieutenants and second lieutenants. So below the battalion level command, I think we had some Gambians who were fitted into as company commanders and various platoon commanders.
Were there any Nigerians who occupied the positions of company commander?
No, certainly not. Not to my knowledge.
Would you say therefore that the command role of the Nigerians was limited to the battalion level?
Yes, I think their role or the intention of the then political leaders was not to permanently make them commanders of the Gambia National Army. This was a period of transition, which was a difficult one, because I think the Gambia, unlike most of our fellow West African English-speaking countries, disbanded what was created by the British during the Second World War, immediately before independence or after independence. And so we never had a standing army, but a field force, which was an armed police detachment under the Gambia Police Force. So that created, a skills vacuum and also a knowledge vacuum in the country on the proper way of commanding and administering a regular army.
And what impact did that historical narrative have on the army as it then was in the 1990s?
Because of the fact that there was no continuity in our army structures, then it means we didn't have officers and non-commissioned officers, to carry on the tradition of soldiering. So when the Gambia National Army was set up in July '94, I think first the government resorted to the British government to dispatch a British Army training team, which was good at the time because they recruited soldiers, inducted them to the army, and supervised the training. Of course, they were also assisted by some officers who were moved from the then gendarmerie, which was earlier established, and then some NCOs as well. But basically, the doctrine and the supervision of the recruit training was done by the British. So essentially, what it meant was that the Gambia had no capacity, skill capacity, to run a modern army.
Before you continue on that narrative, point of clarification. Did you say that the army was set up in July '94 or you meant '84? Could you clarify that point?
Yes, certainly I think it must have been a slip of tongue, but I meant July 1984.
Thank you very much for that clarification. So you said that the Gambia did not have capacity at the time to run a modern army. Could you explain the rationale behind giving Nigerians command responsibility, as you understood the situation, of course?
Certainly, I think I was not a party to the decisions to contract the Nigerians to come and command the army. But I think in my own level, at my own level, I felt that the political masters then perceive that, raising an army needs mature guidance. And in the absence of seasoned officers at the local level, then Nigeria, having gone through similar colonial rule and then had a similar administration and a similar doctrine for running an army, became a natural, partner and ally that we can resort to, and then probably see us through that interim time until such a time that Gambian officers could be trained and then guided through to assume their national duties as commanders of a sovereign armed forces.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. But help us here. Prior to the arrival of the Nigerians, didn't we have Gambians in these particular positions, which the Nigerians came to assume later?
I think I did state that Colonel Ndaunjai, who I understand was a career police officer following the 1981 events, was appointed as the commander of the Gambia National Army. So yes, we had some security personnel, but certainly not army qualified personnel. So the process of recruiting, training, and equipping an army, takes some time if you are to do it properly. So that not only is the officer supposed to be intelligent, educated, but he also must have some maturity, because an army is not any other institution. We manage violence, and therefore you need to have stable and reliable and dependable commanders who are mature and who understand the national situation, to make sure that they guide the young soldiers and officers maturely for continuity.
So from that answer, do I take it that your view or your understanding of the situation is that there was a maturity gap in the leadership of the army, and the government deemed it necessary, therefore, to bring in more seasoned personnel from Nigeria to guide the army in that development stage? Is that right?
Yes, certainly. That was my view.
You ultimately became staff officer at headquarters, correct?
That's true.
Were you the only Gambian who served at headquarters?
No, I think there were some other officers. As I said, the process of the training was not only recruit training, but also command training and also staff duties training. Because an army needs both commanders and then the staff who will prepare the policies, the plans, and the logistics with which to conduct operations. So in the process, I think I was among others. I can remember Babukar Jatta was also at the headquarters. If I can remember, there was also some second lieutenants, okay, and some other officers who were posted into the various cells, what we call cells in the army. You have what they call G cells. Those are the functions, the intelligence, the civil-military relationship, and the operations and plans, the policies, the logistics, etc. There were various cells in which Gambians, young officers, were seconded to Nigerians, so that gradually they can pick up the process and procedures of running them.
You used the term seconded to the Nigerians. Was that a form of mentoring arrangement, or was it just some other training arrangement?
I think in the civilian parlance, that will be referred to as some sort of mentoring and internship.
Was it the idea that upon the departure of the Nigerians, the mentees would replace them in their positions?
I think that is the natural succession of events. Of course, as I stated earlier on, I was not a party to the decision to contract the Nigerians, but I thought that the political leaders then, had a plan with which the Nigerians would be guiding the Gambian National Army for a period, with a end view that at the end of the day, at the end of the tunnel, they will identify qualified, mature Gambians to succeed them.
And in that regard, the Nigerians would be responsible for making recommendations as to who should occupy what position, correct?
Well, it is the responsibility of any commander to the political master to recommend not only the policies and the logistic requirement, but also the personnel whom, in their view, would naturally be able to carry the responsibility of commanding the army.
In your view, what are the most important achievements of NATAG in the Gambia National Army?
I think there were many, but I can remember that when they came, we didn't have what is called an Armed Forces Act, which they helped to develop. We didn't have also what is called a TACOS, that is the terms and conditions of service for both soldiers and officers, which defines what are going to be the terms of and entitlements of the officers and soldiers. And then also in the restructuring process, we didn't have the structures, as I said, the various structures that will not only give the service support required to run the army, but also designate what the terms of reference for all these various structures are. And I think they did very well in that domain, because up to now, I think basically we are using, what we inherited from them.
Are you referring to the regimentation of the army?
Yes, certainly regimentation is also a very important aspect of running an army, because in the army we have various ranks, and then it is important that everybody understands where you are, and then to do what you are required to do in a disciplined and orderly manner, and also a predictable manner of responding. As a commander, you would also, every time you go to your unit, you expect a particular response. So that is part of the regimentation, yes.
And it is your view that they did very well when it comes to organizing this army in that manner?
Well, certainly, though it takes longer than the period they stayed to be able to do it properly. As I said, these are organizations, and like all natural organizations, there is also not only the objective situation, there is also a subjective situation. And the subjective may sometimes influence, the end result of the objectivity of whatever you do.
Thank you very much for that. Now let's talk about the conditions that prevailed in the army between 1990 and 1994. In your view, what was it like for the soldiers in the army between 1990 and 1994?
I think you mean between 1984 or to 1994 or what?
1990 to 1994.
I think we will look at it from 1984, because to establish and run an armed forces requires a lot of capital investment. It only not requires building of proper barracks, procurement of equipments, the clothing of the soldiers, and then the acquiring of vehicles and other logistics, uniforms, etc. So at any given time in a developing country like the Gambia, I think there was always a gap between what the ideal and what was available. So in terms of the conditions, the situation was to Gambian standard acceptable, but I wouldn't say compared to other well-resourced countries, it was below what was normal.
Tell us about food for the soldiers.
Well, certainly food has always been, an issue, if I may say so. Maybe there is always an inadequate fish money or whatever you call it, because the feeding is composed of two things. There is a hard ration, which was procured centrally, and there is what is called the condiments aspect, which was a sum of money that was given, depending on the size of the unit, to the cooks or the ration clerks to go daily and procure from the market. So with all those things, the preparation was also a problem, because it depends on the ability of the cook to manage what was available and then to cook it to be eatable.
Was the food up to standard?
Well, standards are a relative term. When you say was the food up to standard, it means you have a scale. So I don't know what was your barometer then.
Was it good enough?
It was edible compared to what was available generally in society. I think it was okay.
General, grass may be edible, but was it good enough?
Well, grass was not, it was not compared to grass. It was, we use a common term that was water chew. Yeah, but water chew means that the texture of the sauce was not thick enough, but it was edible. There was always a piece of meat or a piece of fish, some vegetables, and rice.
And it tasted salt?
Well, it tasted sometimes when it is domoda, is fine. When it is chew, which was sometimes difficult because of the proportions were not properly calibrated, then it becomes sometimes difficult.
Would you say that the soldiers were happy about the food?
Well, again, happiness is a relative term. What I term to be good and I can do it will be different from your taste. And as you know, the soldiers were coming from different stratas of Gambian society. So, but by and large, we were able to survive.
Able to survive are the words you used.
Well, certainly, yes.
Do I take that to mean that it wasn't the best, but you were able to manage with it?
It wasn't the best, fine, but it was also okay for the purpose. It was fit for purpose, I would say.
You're speaking like a general in the army.
Well, probably I'm not conscious of that distinction, but certainly yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. How about housing?
Well, housing, we inherited what was then Yundum College. And if I remember very well, the genesis of that barracks was, it was at one point a poultry farm. And then later it was transformed to the then Gambia College for the training of teachers. When Birkama campus was built and the army was being formed, I think we inherited it from government. So I think some people would know that place better, those who are teachers. And then we have some running water, there were some toilets, and then there were dormitories that we had beds in. And then suddenly it was a livable quarter.
Was it adequate for the soldiers, for all the soldiers?
No, certainly not. It was not adequate. And then some of these officers and the senior non-commissioned officers were allowed to rent houses in town and commit to work daily.
Before we conclude the point on the housing issue, perhaps I'll just go back to food. Was there any point in time when the issue of the quality of the food was viewed as a problem by the soldiers?
Well, when I was in Yundum, during my recruit training, I think we were not always very happy with the food, but then again, at that time, I think our salaries were about 186, and then 60 was being deducted as for feeding. Okay, so, well, there were always some issues about whether the food was good enough, whether we were having a fair deal or whatever. But by and large, well, it was not out of the normal, certainly.
Would you say that the quality of the food was a source of dissatisfaction by the soldiers, which led to some form of disgruntlement?
As a military commander, I think we are always reminded and educated to take care of the welfare of our soldiers. Because at the end of the day, the feeding, the accommodation, and other aspects of the welfare, upkeep of the soldier is also very important. And it is an issue which is very close to the soldier. So sometimes if there is any problem with that, it can lead to some sort of, well, disgruntlement.
You're theorizing the issue. You're telling us what is in the textbooks, what your responsibility is. But tell us how the soldiers felt about how that responsibility was discharged at the time. Did they feel disgruntled by the quality of the food?
Certainly, they were not very happy about it. Fine.
So let's now move on back to the issue of the housing. You said it was inadequate. Was that also a source of disgruntlement?
Well, it was not adequate. And as I said earlier on, because the army was a new phenomenon. So the only comparison we had was this, the condition at Fajara Barracks, which was, built by the British during the colonial time. So relative to the housing at Fajara Barracks, I think Yundum was not the first, but certainly could compare very well.
Still, that did not answer the question. The question is, were the soldiers satisfied with the quality and quantity of accommodation that was available at the time?
Again, I will repeat, the conditions were not adequate. Certainly, it was not a 5-star accommodation, but the soldier in the field would enjoy worse conditions than that, because if you are on operations, sometimes you have to live in tents, etc. So certainly anybody making up your mind to join the army would therefore, be realistic and then, ready to live in the condition that was available. It was not a 5-star hotel, but that was what was available.
Yes, we all agree that is what was available. The question is whether what was available was satisfactory.
Satisfaction is an individual perception. As I said earlier with the food, it depends on what your benchmark is. But by and large, according to Gambian standard, then it was okay, to my own mind.
Thank you very much for that answer. Now let's talk about transportation. Was it adequate?
No, transportation was not adequate because, in the military, we have what is called the table of organization and equipment. For every unit, there is a complement of vehicles and other equipment that goes with it. Again, it depends on, if you have a battalion, you have troop carriers, you have what is called these jeeps for the commanders, etc. So transportation was never adequate. Initially, in '84, we were donated some vehicles by France, which we use. And then along the line, through the advice of the British, we procured some Bedford, second-hand Bedford vehicles from the British Army that was decommissioned. And I think basically that was what was available then.
Would you say that the inadequacy in transport available to the soldiers was also a source of disgruntlement?
Well, certainly, yes. It is frustrating to not be able to move around, to do your regular duties and training.
How about the pay? Was it good?
Pay has always been low in this country. As I stated earlier on, when I joined as a recruit, our salaries in '84 total was 186, which was after taxation, and then $60 was deducted for for feeding and other things, and then you go home with about 120. I don't know the price index of 84, but certainly, well, it was compared to other services and what you get in other units like in the education, etc. Well, it was within range.
As at 19, well, we have, from your answers, it appears that the food was barely satisfactory, housing was not adequate, transportation was not adequate, pay was just okay, and all these were not recipe for very happy soldiers. Would you agree?
Well, I think it could have been better.
What would you say was the view of the junior officers regarding the presence of Nigerian troops in the Gambia, or Nigerian officers responsible for the army?
When the Nigerians came, I don't know the details of the SOFA, what we call Status of Forces Agreement between the government of the Gambia and Nigeria. But I think the officers were given some accommodation. The NCOs were also given accommodation. The most senior officers had their own private vehicles. The other officers had bosses and the NCOs had bosses that they joined collectively. I didn't know what their salaries was, but there was talk that they were being paid in foreign currency. I don't know. But certainly, it's normal when you move from your own country to another. I don't know who was paying, whether it was our government or not, but certainly there is an X factor in terms of your pay and allowances. So relatively, it was above what was available to the Gambian officers.
But were junior officers in Gambia happy with the presence of the Nigerians?
Well, again, when you use these terms, happiness, it is an individual's own perception. So I would say that, yes, ambitious young men, who wants to scale up, would definitely be a little bit impatient. And in the army, we used to have this term, when a young officer wants to look up too high, we caution him to look down before he breaks his neck. So which means, as a junior officer, you wait for your turn. So.
And the Nigerians appear to have been in the way. Is that right?
Yes, certainly Nigerians were a benchmark to look up to. But, we also knew that over time, well, we could also attain such things.
How about the ability of the Nigerian troops or commanders who were here, in particular the trainers?
I was not privy to their individual CVs, but certainly if you look at the Nigerian army training structure, where an officer would have to go through the NDA, what they call the National Defense Academy, for some years to become a cadet. Then from there on, you build up your career. By the time the lot that were posted here, most of them, apart from their professional military training, the officers, then most of them had a first degree in one area or another. For the NCOs, I think they must have served, for a length of at least 10 to 12 years before they were able to, excel within their own army setup, and then being selected to be brought to another country or taken to another country. So I think by and large, yes, they were qualified to do what they were assigned to do.
Would you rate them highly?
Again, rating them was not, it was not my duty to rate them then, because I think I would take it that, if a sovereign state requires assistance from another sovereign state, certainly you will select the best of your lot to post to another country. No country would want to send mediocres to another state to represent you. So they were capable, in my own assessment, to do what they were assigned to do.
Did you, by any chance, attend the training that was organized in Kudang in May of 1994?
Yes, I attended the training. As I said, I was then a company commander. So the whole idea was what we call a field training exercise, in which a company-sized force was designated, and then you go through the phases of battle. That is the advance to contact, reaction to enemy effective fire. Then you fight through the enemy position, clear it, with all the activities that go on. Of course, once in the process of fighting, you encounter enemy fire, then you make an appreciation, you read the battle, collect some of your forces to a secure place, and then after you read the commander, as the commander, you read the battle, and then give rapid operations orders, and then embark on the journey of defeating the obstacle. Yes, I was.
You said you are the company commander. Who were your platoon commanders?
If I can remember well, I think one of them was Yankuba Toure. Sana Sabale was one of them. I think Edward Singate. Because we had all the young officers and the Gambian senior officers, so that the exercise troop were one, so that you will be given a particular phase of the operation or the exercise with which you prepare your orders and deliver them, and then go through it, at the end of which you are critic, and the teaching points were noted. You will be told what you did well, what you were short of, and then it could serve as a point to rectify or to adjust to.
Who designed that particular exercise?
I think then I was in Farafeje, but it must have been designed by the colonel who was responsible for training and operations.
During that exercise, did you sense any form of dissatisfaction or resistance on the part of junior officers from the Gambia?
The exercise lasted, I think, for almost 5 days. We assembled at Kudang initially, and then do the necessary preparation, then move to the exercise area. So as I said, I was one of the first to be exercised. After me, there were other captains who were given similar tasks. So it was a what we call an advanced to contact exercise. The exercise started around the outskirts of Kudang, and then ultimately ended up before this thing Choya, or somewhere around that end. So of course this was a dynamic situation as well. Those who had similar sentiments and similar this thing would collate together at the end of each exercise, and then probably do their chit chat.
The question was, did you notice any form of resistance or dissatisfaction by the junior officers?
Quite honest, no. There was no visible resistance, because each of them, the role you were assigned to do, you were doing it. So, quite honest, I didn't notice any sort of reluctance or resistance to any of the instructions that were being given then.
Did you learn of a meeting by junior officers wherein they discussed the quality of the training that they were given at the time?
I think after that, after the exercise, not before the July 22nd events, but later on we learned that some of the officers, had decided during the process of the night harbors, or to come together and then do their own their own critique of the situation, and then came up with some ideas.
So, in a sense, you are telling us that you later learned that the junior officers met together and discussed the training, correct?
Yes, but not within the immediate, during the training or the immediate aftermath of the training.
And the information you received, what does it entail? What does it say about the training that was carried out?
At that time, I will also state that, you know, the Gambia National Army had various countries where they go and train. There was always, you know, this competition between those who went to Sandos and those of us who were trained in America. You know, in Sandos, you know, the method was to train you as an officer cadet to a second lieutenant. In America, I think the courses we went to, the infantry officers basic course, you know, was a little bit higher because the graduates from their, this thing, how do you call it, their military academies, West Point and others, were collected together and then given, you know, a higher sort of training. So we used to pride ourselves that, yes, we were more infantry, we were more skilled as leaders of infantry soldiers than those from Sandos who had the basics. So there was various, this thing, how do you call it, barometers with which to look at, you know, whether something is effective or not.
But the information you received about the training, you received the information subsequently that we accept. But did the information you received suggest that the junior officers were not happy with the quality of the training that was offered while in Kudang?
Yes, I think, yes, they felt that, you know, what the kind of training that we had received early on from the British was a little bit more advanced than the one we were getting from the Nigerians.
Mr. Chairman, it's 10 minutes to the first break. Perhaps, as agreed yesterday, it's about time that I cede the floor to the commissioners for any questions they may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Council, and thank you, General Cham. We appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Yeah. Yes, Bishop, you have the floor.
Commissioner James Odiko. General Cham. Point of, yes, I would want you to clarify for me, because I'm not too sure whether I got the figures correctly. The salary that you stated, was it $186 that they are being paid per month? The figure, the amount. Because you said, I think you deduct $60 for food. So what was the salary?
Yes, I stated that during our recruit training, the then salary after tax that a recruit will receive total up to 186 or 80 this thing, suddenly below 200, out of which $60 was deducted for feeding. And then your net take-home pay would be 180 something less than $60, which is about 120 something.
Commissioner Carr.
Commissioner Carr, my question is, at the time, would you say the average soldier would agree with your assessment of the conditions of service in the Army?
Again, I think that is a question of individual perception. What I believe to be okay and what you believe to be okay may be quite different. Life is a question of perspective and is also relative. So, but by and large, you know, that was what was available, and then anybody joining the Army would have known that these are the conditions, and then you are coming to take what was available. In other words, this is a young man who is not employed. You know, he wants a job, and that is what is available. You know, the soldiers then also were secondary school leavers. So you compare the relative earning, your capacity to earn more in another employment to what you have. If it is below what your qualifications are, then by all logic, then you will be dissatisfied. But if you know that your potential to earn something is not better than what you are, then you take it.
Thank you. Commissioner Kinte.
Commissioner Kinte.
Commissioner Imam.
I remember you said the Nigerians, as it is obvious, people have objective and subjective issues. The objective of having them here was to build the capacity of Gambians so that Gambians will take ownership. And the subjective part, if I understand, would be that the Nigerians may drag their feet on all the activities for them to stay longer and enjoy the facilities, while the Gambian team will be more and more disgruntled because they have not been fast-tracked to take their responsibility. Is that valid?
No, I think the Nigerians came here on a very specific and concrete agreement between two sovereign states who all understood very clearly what you wanted. And based on those terms, which I was not privy to, I think the time of stay would have been specified. And then there was also within it some mechanisms with which to review at periodic stages whether the objective is being achieved, whether the personnel that were deployed were fit to the task, and then if at any one point in the view of the receiving party, which was then the Gambia government, it was their feeling that they are not getting what they bargained for. I think there was also within the mechanism, which I don't know, a clause, an exit clause, where they can terminate or change the composition or whatever.
Thank you, Imam C.
Man la Commissioner Imam C. Cha maa ngi lay laaj Nigerian yi ndax li ngeen doon lekk ñoom itam loolu lañ doon lekk yéen a bokkoon benn waañ. ñaareel bi itam ñoom ñaata lañ woon ak itam ndax ñoom ñoo leen xelifoon waaye ndax yéen itam am ngeen ci ñi ngeen xelifoon.
Do I answer in English or I use Wolof?
Please answer in English.
Well, I think his question is whether we were eating the same food with the Nigerians. No, the Nigerians had their own feeding arrangements. But if we are on field exercise, then we all eat the same. The second question was how many were the Nigerians? I think the records are there. I can remember exactly how many of them were deployed in the country. But certainly they were above 20-something, if I remember.
If I understand the question correctly, I think the Imam inquired whether there were any Nigerians under your responsibility. Ndax amon na ñoo leen ci yelif. I think that's what the Imam said.
Yes, certainly. I think he asked 3 questions. Yeah, and I was going to that bit. In the military hierarchy, it is rank, appointment, and title. So whether you are a British soldier or a Canadian soldier, if you are in any situation where you live together, rank takes precedence. The officers who were superior to the Gambian officers, would take precedence. Those of the officers that were superior to some of the Nigerians, because they also had some lieutenants, so would also, defer to the Gambians. The NCOs certainly, would take command if they fall within your own setup from the Gambians. So this is military ethics, and these are the essence of regimentation.
And the third question? Okay. Thank you very much, General Cham. You made a few references to SOFA, Status of Forces Agreement. Are there any copies that the Gambia concluded, or of the SOFA that the Gambia concluded with the Nigerian government that we can have access to? I don't want to preempt the legal counsel or the legal team on this issue, but if SOFA concluded with the Nigerians, a copy is available, would want to see it.
We are looking for it. We would solely get copies and provide them to the Commission.
Please.
Well, as I said, these were state agreements. And at the time, my level didn't allow me to have access to those, sensitive intergovernment agreements. But suddenly, in the natural sequence of dealing between two sovereign states, I think there would exist a memorandum of understanding, if not a SOFA, or a note verbal, which will clearly state the parameters and the responsibilities, the obligations, and the immunities that would be enjoyed within the context of our modern, what we call rule-based international system.
Fine, we'll get to that point a bit later on, whether or not it's just exchange of letters or a proper SOFA. We'll examine that a little bit later and see which one they concluded, if we can have copies of that for our information. Any further questions from commissioners? If not, we will take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon. Thank you so much, General.
Vehicles, you are giving it to parliamentarians. Where is the source? The parliamentarians themselves should challenge that.
Yes, APRC and GDC were opposition. All other parties that doesn't concern you people, either UDP or NRP or PPP, they are all in the government. Man, dama against edikali mu nekk $450. Man musuma si anata du musuma sa anda.
Yow xaliss bobu nu fa ñëwé lolu nga wara ñikal laccé because social security institution do xam le social security waru fa ñaka xaliss yefi profit social security lolu wahi waxtani bandala lolu dafa wara automatique baro lu mako ñaan moy na wacca 3 years am su démé 5 years dafa am problème leadership bu fi bay dafa bon right now amu direction bu correct rew mi ñepp sen disap amna disapomé ci nguri borom benn nit munta jagal rew da nga def li nga wara def bayyi keneen ñu
Assalamu alaikum baɗigolum mbalɓe kontonna kal bismillah dinkrato dami alonko wolem duns hotel ti yekkordam men kere kere pour ñin commission me alonko wole lota to ñala sen kandirola tajirinte akul men kada tilimbali al nin keresi bangolo men ya anillanda tambol me alonko wole sotata Gambia banko kanjang kabo December karo kabo July karo tilimuang anem fula 1994 kata fo January 2017 sango ay Africa Television o toyala Lamin AFFS Dabo badi ngolo bilungo menketa araboti na nying January karo atili tanni woro momi yalonko wole nata kake sedoti kala kuma kangol di membe lari nin to nyala karola kol men yalonko wolle lo keta a nyala anim fana menno keta la anim menno fana yalonko wolle keta foku molti abora menno kalama Gambia la tare koto o maralo mi yalonko wole sotota nyim Gambia banko kanjang komen ngafonu nyamen drong July karo 1994 kata for January 2017 seda woro lanjango me alon ko biti lola wole nata ka finde commission ni nyati lengola wole keta moti me alon ko wole mu general Mamad Chamti ate mu molti me alon ko biti lola Gambia banko la sojar bundala ate mu army commandati General Mamad Cham nyinin karoni jabiro tambita aning late council tema Esambay Fall ko General mo Cham yako mbe tembo mendo sainteng mbela fila puru esafo jamaa mole ka kononto diaro ke eto ani e wuluta mintole anim fana yekaram makamol me yalon ko e wolle tamandi ako ate to Mamat o e kiamleti anim fana mole mati me yalon ko a wuluta Gambia banko le kanjang dinkrato dami yalon ko wolen ker mbugumati lo anyomila chef banko nyinkang ako a wuluta sango minna 1961 sangolemu September karo atile kononto anata tendem fanan kaytandi ko abe sabatin dingramento Gambia banko kanjang tembeng wala mu ala kordati membe sukuta salaji ako Chairman Primary School a karanta wolto kabiring ay buku woro nyimbang anata ta dinkrato dami alonko wala keta Crab Island Secondary School o nyinti 1977 ako apareta o karawnyina Crab Island ako kabrayo karawnyim amanna silo sotono puruka tenten nim fannala mi alonko wolem high school o nyinde ako anata kata dinkrato dami alonko atata doku nyino laje men keta minister bundade men marta mansa kundari ngolla local government ako atata makamo nyini je mi alonko kar woro doku wolemu e ka mendi num molla wato e kata ka safero ke num banko dingolla e ka men for registration clerk atendenda fanan katandro ke ko kola anada silo fanan soto me yalonko atata karanke men keta karal lafala karode memo private studies ti ako anata anata o level kawo exam nyinta me yalonko wolem exam ti molka men kenun buku lulu high school la karola ka fo dame form 5 ako ayo private exam nyinke o level anim fanan anata karandiro ke sanji kili wucho kono karandiro me yalonko teacher menu manta college la fannala ka men unqualified teacher ako bira boto fanan anata tenteng kada do ku do nyini me yalonko aketa Gambia Cooperative Union la karolalti ako kari woro anata karanke je fanan pour seko supervisor o makamo nyin inata o seka ya diala cooperative ako ya samba do ko wala dinkramento wala kada baka daji nyani maro ako atata do ko wala je ana ay do ko men ke o dinkra nyinto wo nata ke fenti me alonko o cooperative nyin kono ako ay sanji kilin nim fen do ko jele atendenda fanan kaytandi ko 16 July 1984 wato lemu ate natata dinkrato dami yalonko wala keta Gambia la sojar bunda nyindi puruka kafu molma menu karandiro sotola talbendi ya kono sojar kunda nyinna karola ako anata pass out wala mu kakara nyinta kabang ana bulata mo folol le kono me yalonko wala keta amila talbe fololti men mu recruit wolti force badge ako lokum fula lifo nata odila o fonyonde nyin kola drong anata murukata do ko nyin commencé ako wato la ala daba kunku nyarandiro wakeda fendi me alonko lance corporal ye wala diala me yalonko wala makama foloti e ka mendi mola me alonko amare bota talbi ala kuta ke nyamenna anata tendem fanan kaytandi kode wokola anata taraje silo nata walang me yalonko wala mu nyin sojarol la makamo membe santon kayaring annikindiro nyin nakarola memu kedekti ako anata silo soto kabula mol kono e menu safe pour e mari nyol se dabula oro ako kiskisiro nin tombondro nyin na makamolu anin sartol menu be landiring ala nada harje anata o sartol mafa atentenda kata wo kedek karaw nyinna enata nyin karo nada bo mobulu me alon ko wole let consulte atele mo esambay falte akay ko iteni mojuma lelu kafuda wo kedek karaw nyimma o dinkra nyindo aya fa ko de wato e tolla sojar kunda ako mo fula sotota je me alon ko wol bota sojar fannala pasala janbo wala kono ani Lawrence Jara wol mo let me alon ko wol be fanantara nyin kedek karaw lale atendenda fanan kayitandiro kala kode niya wo kede karaw nyinto pasala Jagne ani Lawrence Jara etel mu modi memboda civilian fannala momi yalon ko wala mu Modou Camara ako wol fana mum wolete me yalon ko wol nata bo dinkrato dame yalon ko wole keta la do ko nyindi memu sojar ya makamo nyindi Modou Camara anin Sam Jiba wole modi memboda sojar kundato kakafu wo kedek makamo nyimma ako pasala Jagne anin Lawrence Jara wol botanang civilian wala karola pour kane dake nying nikindroto memu kedek karon nyindi atendenda fanan kasain kandro ke nin kumolla me yalon ko wollel sotota nun akode April anata silo fanan sotono kabirin alaw kede karawnin kola kada America banko kan me karo kono 1985 ako anata ta dinkirato dami yalon ko karansilo men walanta eje anata ta o karawnyinna ani mol men fana yalon ko wolle tata nyola akwate ni Babukar Jata ani Fabakar Sise akoy tollem moldi meno tata o londi nyino nyinna America banko kan soja yala fannala ata ako San Antonio fanan anata ta o dinkira nyine to folo pour ka karanje kar woro wucho kono ka angale kamuta ka karang ala marufol nala jokonol ke bebo nyoto nyin kamala ko do karandrome bidakela asesone bul nyamen bare wom America la sartolti men yalon ko manke bo banko to memu ankale dingolde ni tata fosi angale kan folo karang ako kabira boto anata ta karang la dinkrado da memu Fort Benning fanandi la infantry basic training course of I of ta ko London nyim fanan nyini ako kabira boto anata nang inata ka silo yelae ka ke platoon commandant ako kabira boto na wala anata North Carolina fanan ay karan ke jele me alon ko abe dendi nin sojarol nin civilian wolu temo nin anyanta kata mandi nyamen aka o karan nin fanan kele anu wo karan nin kam 1986 kada 87 ma fon lang ay o do ko nyinge ako anara ke mori me alon ko ya samba ku dan law kampo nin to je anu nata makamo diala je me yalon ko wala keta platoon commandant ako dum wato ya daba kunku nyarando men babulo wala second lieutenant makamo nyinde ako enada bondi kudang kasamba dinkrato dami alonko wala mu katonti ako ay kartan ni say nyon soto jele abe katon nyaton kayala je ako kabira boto ya samba yundum barak enada kala makamo nyin selendi kake lieutenant ako atendenda fanan kama jamalta kamenu mabe men yalon ko wallel mu sojar yala makamolti excellence landama me yalon ko ate atambita ni wallella ako fanan nata tra yundum barracks kabira furata oto nata ke modi me yalon ko commandala saferla nata ke wolti bari won makamolti me yalon ko lannole ka sabu ani mari la sobea ani la wane ya do ko nyin kono e ka me angale counto adjutant ako ate molti me yalon ko kabira be o dinkra nyin to de ako anata kam mabe roke fenna me yalon ko akeda mammangolti so jarol dol menu nene tata no liberia o wato la inata nan ko ye lahidi ko nyanda ka jusu nyabura men dile mo soto wolnata o mamma menke ako wonata ke fendi me alon ko woketa no nyala le yundum barracks ako nyin sojarolu kabriye kumandi ya kata ni kacha soto bare wolnata dolbe kono wolnata funtile nin kamfa ba kono inata ta ka kafunyoma bulata bosola tata dinkrato dame anko ye kungolo banjul kan ako kabire futata dentim bridge wato le tolnata ka muta kanyin sojarol ta ke londi ke kacandino je ka kuonyinta ka sonandino bulu ako nate samba wole nyama nun makati square tata je momi yalon ko wole benu nyaton kala sojar kunda nyinto memu colonel daw njayti ani kacha sotoje kadiamo dila ani lahido dol me alon ko ila wosi dalu ko be to la nyamen atendenda fanan kaitandi ko anata silo nyin soto damen to yalon ko aketa Gambia banko ila kurupu nani jango me yalon ko wolem fort contingenti akeda commandati o mol me yalon ko Gambia dingolu menu keta nani jangolti ya menu ki kata Liberia banko nyinkan ako fanan kabira futa to silo nata ela makama dola karola yalon ko ekomi menu bota fata findula intelligence jang sojarolu menu yalon ko bo dinkra nyundo inada ke commandati wo dinkra nyum fanan to je ako fanan kabirin abota woto amurta Gambia banko kanjang sanji killing kar woro mafang wala kata wuchote mi alon ko ay wala soto Liberia ako anata ta Nigeria kata karon keje kar woro wucho nyin kono kabira abota na woto fanan inata samba dinkrato dame an ko wala farafenye sojar kampo nyinde atela keta Nigeria no membe nyadon kayala je atela keta wala normal an ko farafenye la sojar kampo nyindo atendenda fanan kaytandi ko molmen yalon ko wolel munu Nigerian olti ako ibenu Gambia banko kanjang ako brata fono la sanjumale nada bare asafo ko kabira mursa nan don kabala o karola atra Nigerian olle Gambia banko la sojar kundala nyaton kaya makamol nyin tamandi kan tendenda fanan kaytandi ko kuol men yalon ko wollel be laring kabo nyinin karola memboda lead council bolo esambay fal akay ko mune kole akulu be kering non sojari ala karola o watol kono akode ku fengol men yalon ko wollel be ke kan non Nigerian wala tara makamo to me yalon ko wolen sojari ya nyaton kayati ako asunta men na wato Gambia banko nyin sojarol men yalon ko beje kabiren kolnen dawn jay nyim wala mamma kola inada samba ambassadeur do ala France banko kan anu sojar keba do beje o ye fonyo do ko walale anu sanni ajube ke bal men yalon ko be sojar ya makamoto londi harum be bulu men sanna Gambia banko ala sojarol la kol sitano nyamen ako do ya batale ako dalilo kamala walanna Nigeria mansakunda anin Gambia mansakunda e bulodu nyobulu nin sartol nin kambe wala me yalon ko wala silo walang pour Nigeria no sina Gambia banko kanjang kakarandiro ke molla men yalon ko wollel mu nyimolti membe dinkrato dami alon ko wolen Gambia bankoti ako nyimol natale pour ke karandi ke kalamtandi fanan me alon ko abebe dendin sojari ala sartolla ye mellandi ako ate aje nyamen wolen nyinte ko Nigeria no lanna kule me alon ko ay silo walang Gambia sojar dinningolu pour se karanno nyame se fahamro ke sojari ala wane ya kulla sinin sama isaje isna keno nyaton ka kendolti comme sartol ya landi nyame tendenda fanan ka CDR kuma kawta ka di me yalon ko wala be dendinning Gambia la muna fangolo ye men sotono kabirin Nigeria la nyin sojarol nara ka nyaton ka makamol ta Gambia la sojar kunda nyinto nyenen karo botana late council bull esambay fal ako general chamye ko mbe tembo men to ese mune fono nye memu yirwa simfanyalti menu sotonoda Gambia la sojar kundato Nigeria no le men ke nyimbango kanjang ay tande ko de fengo me alon ko wolem safe fengoti memu Armed Forces Act sartol ni lual men yalon ko abe larin sojar yala ko fanna nyina ako Nigeria no lewo yiro nyin turu Gambia banko kanjande ako nyajube fanan me yalon ko wolem terms and entitlement of officers wala nyanto lo dulalu ani sartol menu be laring nyantol men yalon ko sojarol nyanda ka wala soto ako fanan Nigeria no lewo fanan si nyin banko kanjang sojar kunda nyin na karola ako regimentation men kaytandiro ke mola lo dulala anim fanan anyanta ka do ku sifal men ke anim do ko la al halo ko be bondi nyoto anim ka do ko fanan na kolota ka be ko indi ko fengo bebe tarra dendi menna wala nyarandirobe kata ko lela anin ke barolu wol bem fened me alon ko ay tandiro ke ko o be Nigeria wol le kata sababori pour o fana soto ni Gambia banko kanjang atendenda fanan kaytandi ko de 1990 kata 94 kol men yalon ko wollelu be kerinu Gambia la sojar kunda nyinto o nyinin karo nyin general cham ay tandi ko de domoro la karola o mu fennete mi alon ko ngunol ka soto nun jele ako bare ni domoro jube ala siya nya o mu fennete mi alon ko amankitale anata ta dinkrado fana mi alon ko wole mu bungol la karola wara tara dinkla sojaro la karola akode tara dinkra mu fende mi alon ko mol menu be nu do ko la sojari amaka mo nyindo wollel siata nin tara dinkra nyinde ako fanan keta kole akoldi ako kole akudo fanan beje mi alon ko wonata nin dinkra la karola men keta taranguti anin do kurangolo membo ko motolu ako o fanna nyinna tani narango nyi memo motol la karola de ako fanan keta kole akulede bare moto dantan ne sotota o man nyakano sakora ko asesone andiro keno do kol men yalon ko nyanda kake sojaro la tani na dula dolto me yalon ko sartol ya landi nyame ako kole aketa motol la fannala bare moto chortin din dron ole benu bulu sojar kundal nyinto tendenda fanan kaytandiro ke ko ka mendi nin karo fata wo karfa jonyin o fanan mo fennete me alon ko akeda fenti amo be siake wo fan kono fan ako dalas keme fula ako adasata wolale kemenin taysay ma fangollem anu ni nata wo kono jube ka taworo bondi je me alon ko ka fuko e bo wole dapansila pour ka dundi sojarol la welfare kunna ako dum ni o bondi kemenin moanyol ma fanne kadram bulo aga men samba suwa kono ala dimbaya la karola te denna fanan kanyinin karo soto men bota let council bulo e samba e fal akay ko fo ila fundo ba kanne bang wato menna karandiro soto tanu Nigeria sojarolu ye karandiro ke Gambia sojarola kudanna sojar campagne ndo akay ha ma beta jele nte general Mama Cham menum be wonyintole téléphone ke da mo foloti commanda kono me yalon ko yenna wala dinne ko ngata ngaytandi sojarola menumu karandingolde o tembo nyinna ako akarawnin aketa nyalale anum fanan ay metandi je wala nyinte ko kurinde me alon ko wala bo karawnin na karola abeka da kun kanjele nyen karo bota nan ko reke let council bul esamba e fal ka fay ko fo anene bota so jarol la ngunol kala mabang membe dandin ning ila kontane baliala nyen nikindro me alon ko wala keta kudang na o sojar campagne ndoje aytande ko de hani anene mambo bo kalama wato menna ibe karandro nyin kekan ako bare karandro nyin ko lala wati merin na dron anada kibaro mo ko de sojaro dolu yeytandiro ke ko e man kontane ku soto me alon ko wala be dendin nin nikindro la men kedanu wo kudang sojar kamporo ako bari ni wala fanan jube sojari akono ida mal katra nyo sea kanne kaytandiro ke bari modol karanta dinkral mento sojari amaka mol nyinna karola akarandiru nyanyin anin dolta fatatale comme nin dol karanta America dol karanta Angleterre ela karandir nyal ka fata wala nyama anum fanan makamol men yalon ko ya soto ela o karandiro nyin on fennede me yalon ko akantine da mal ka nyo sea bari dol kaytandi dol la ko ndelle bulo bal kan santo nyin kamalan tambita silalla me yalon ko almantani jela akode on fennete me yalon ko wonara ke kuti abora kalamal nunde modol la kuma kan men yalon ko nata fo akobara manke nikin dro nyin na wato men na ebe kudan o sojar karandro nyin bekkela sain wotembo nyin tolem nyin karo nata dayele pour commissional menu basiri natara fembe bulu jannim fonyon nyin bekela commissioner James Odiko ay nyin karo menke wala nyinte ko ako alafta general Mama Cham akay ko nunto ya fole ko salary mi alon ko ka wala di talibola membe sojari akarangola fo wo salary nyin ye memfo fo lafitale sa 5 anno asiko e moluma akay ko kemoro kemenin tansailem bang fondung nyadilem akay ko ha membe o dinkra nyinto amang keme fulosi dalas keme fulo wato ni be recruit yala dalas keme fula e buka osoto kemenin tansa nyol ma fonle o fanan kono e ka taworo bondi jele o taworo nyi e ka wolata ke ka fu nyoma so jaro la karola pour la kool be topoto la nyamen commissiona ka o fana nara nyinin ka foloke akode be tembo men do sainteng abella fila pour general Mama Cham asa fono jama molye fo wo watola so jardini ngolo e ka kontan nole bang komen ko sojar yala al halol be nu nyamenna fo sojar dinol be sonna ba nimmo koko sojar yala al halo bete arenne waranto kuol menu be laren sojar ya nyinna fanna nyinna fo to be nditale bang jabiro mi alon ko wala boda general mama chambulu akode ni ajube ko labbede anim bede abaliade ako mu fennede mi alon ko mo ka ko suma fangolla ako do mu fanya kude bondolti anu mo ala karola atafe fendo bede ara woni modo la miro se fata ako do mu mo la mirolti anu mo la miro alande nyawnya nyama abama ari la ko to wala nyama commissioner kinde o fanan nara nyin karo di aytanda general mama chamla kode ako Nigerian wol la soja rol menu yalon ko nara Gambia banko kanjannu o watola la dalilo nyin ya foko nata pour ka karandiroke anim fanan ka silo walang Gambia soja rol be fahamo ken wala nyaadile pour la soja ya do ko connaisse wana aje nyamen bari Nigerian wol fanan modol safon wala ko natal lojang ka isingo tuntun ka aduta poto kono asi bambanno nyamen nyin kamale si mejang bari be nu nema bal men kono ani yirwani nyatotal men bela al haloto ela kol bele bete ari nu Gambia banko kanjang modol safo ka walanna nyaton ka place ol ye marajang ani nata me ba ke nyin Gambia banko kan general nama tiam kabira boro jabila akode Nigerian wala mejang sunda menna wala mu kambe men keda Gambia man sakunda ni Nigeria man sakunda tema ako kambe wala landiro kono sarto beje men kaytandi ko nyim man sakunda memu Gambia man sakunda di o watola se jube ro kenole anin kiskisiro ka pesa ro keno ka jube fo Nigeria no ye na fe na menna jang na tara jartale pour ye muru se o kan di pour ye muru na ra jarta fanam pour ka wato nyin la fa wara wucho wara kam mol fale me alon ko wolle be nun jang wo karandir fanna nyina anin nyaton ka taman rodo ako be mfenede me alon ko adita nun Gambia man sakunda lale anu ate aje ko Nigeria no la manke ko wolle le fon ye fam mendi jang ako la me jang bebe sundi menna wala aje ko Gambia man sakunda le o silo nyi wale tendenda fanan kaytandiroke ko Nigeria man sakunda kabrini Gambia man sakunda nyin kammoke Nigeria no la na jan dalilo abebe lare ni sarto la na abebe koyrine fe man jakasje ako to dalilo kamalade ataba fla ko Nigeria no la na jango man sakunda fulo la kacha fennem anin kambenne fanam mi alon ko ye kayto men dadala o kayto nyin nimmo moyo jedron wala baytandile marila atendenda fanan kibaro la karola me alon ko wala nata ning nyinin karola mem boda commissioner sibulo ay nyinin karo men ke wala nyinte ko nyinin kar folo akay ko general cham fo akay ko general cham fo ben wo tembo me alon ko albe sojar ya kono faltolu ni Nigerian sojarolo alni kaden domorola le bang anata itandala ko general cham ka ko Nigerian sojarolo ni fansun dinkralem dami alon ko tol kela domorol soto woldo bare natara waro men nikindrol be kekan enen Gambia sojarol men bo nikindir lado o karandro nyin kono ibe ka domo sifa klingo nyine domo nyin kar fulan jawto anata nyin ka menna commissioner imam si ako general chamye ko fo wato Nigeria nolu etolu mo nangam jellebe jang sojarol kono a mentandala je wala nyinte ko wo mu fennete mi alon ko wo yiri ko nyin ala fundo mo mano ato 5 nola Nigerian sojar jellebe nu Gambia banko kanjang nyen kar sabanjaw nyin commissioner si ay nyin karo me wala nyinte ko akay ko general cham mbelafla menna wala nyinte ko pour sa ko ndi jama molma fo Nigeria nol wato fo fanan kono molbe jele menu be Gambia dingol la sojar kundon ko la maralo nyin koto warela kan koto ay mentandi je jabiroto general mama cham akay ko de sojaria ataya aya fansun kude wosoto afansun selen dangolo beje nyin kamala ko momoronding yellon do men soto kanola makamo ana palaso katamani wala ako modol beje men yalan ko Nigerian banko la sojaro le wote benun Gambia banko kanjang wol munu lieutenant no lelti ako dum waka mentandi wolem Gambia dingo ning makamo babulu men sembo warta Nigeria dingo la makamo de ako Nigeria dingo betarla amari kotole womu fente me alon ko akete jabirode men bota General Mama Chambulu memu seda wora wulan jawdi ñing tonya la commission la karola TRRC mbal tentula mbal jayla seytan dro kala ko ning tara wuce fulan jaw ñin na drong mbe murla na le nanne pour ka itan dro kala munel fota o saliba ñin kono membe dendi mbilu ngala sedaro la karola mbal tentula kal jay lamin AFFS dabo sitan na studio bato welingara ala baraka.
Vehicles, you are giving it to parliamentarians. Where is the source? The parliamentarians themselves should challenge that.
Yes, APRC and GBC no opposition. All other parties that doesn't concern you people, either UDP or NRP or PPP, they are all in the government. Man, dama against edikani mu nek $450. Man musuma se anata du musuma sa anda.
Yow xaliss bobu num fa ñëwé lolu nga wara njëkkal lakté because social security institution do xam ne social security waru fa ñaaka xaliss yefi profit social security lolu wahi waxtani bandala lolu dafa wara automatique
baro lu mako ñaan moy na wacce 3 years am su démé 5 years dafa am problème leadership bu fi bay dafa bon right now amu direction bu correct réew mi ñepp sen disap am na disapomé ci nguri borom
benn nit munta jagal réew da nga def li nga wara def bayyi keneen ñu continuer
Banjul breweries Wolkola nata nananga bindu Kukuto nata nananga bindu Wolkola nata nananga bindu Kukuto nata Wolkola nata lede Wolkola nata lede Wolkola nata lede Wolkola nata lede Bam na chima gagdo Siwer ko yaram Jox la chawarte Defar sa yaram Banjul breweries in the najandi jilen Wolkola Wolkola nata lede Wolkola nata
chance to rest a little bit?
Very well, Lead Counsel.
Before the break, you were talking about, perhaps I should first of all remind you that you're still under oath. Before the break, you were talking about the conditions that prevailed within the army and how satisfied were Gambian soldiers and officers about the situation. And the last question you were dealing with concerned the perception by the junior officers regarding the training that took place in Kudang in May of 1994. Do you recall that?
Very well.
Now, tell us, do you remember or do you know where Lieutenant Yankuba Toure did his officers' training?
Very well. I think I did mention that at some point in my career, I was the adjutant of the then 1 Infantry Battalion under Colonel Daunjai. And like the system was such that whenever there is a need to promote officers, a commission selection board would be set up. And those who had the most or the best academic qualifications, with a minimum sometimes of at least 3 or 4 O levels, would be selected, and then they go through the selection board. So those of them who makes it up will be promoted to the rank of cadets, and then subsequently sent for their follow-on officer training. Out of every batch, naturally there would be some who will not make it. So it was during such period that at one of the days we had an urgent offer from the United States Embassy that we have 2 slots for this IOBC in Fort Benning. So the period was too short to organize another officer selection board. So we went through the files and then shortlisted out of those who didn't make it in the first rounds, 3. One was Yankuba Toure, who was then a sergeant. The other was Lance Corporal Sana Sabali. And there was also one private, Aplai or Aliuba.
And were they eventually sent for training?
Yes, so they were. Eventually, we settled on Sergeant Yankuba Toure and Lance Corporal Sana Sabali. And then they were decorated by myself and Commander Ndaunjai. And then they were sent to the United States for their basic officer training.
And that would be Fort Benning, correct?
Yes, please.
So now we have Yankuba Toure and Sana Sabali. They went to Fort Benning, right?
Yes, sir.
And Lieutenant Edward Singate, where did he train?
Lieutenant Edward Singate, if I can remember his badge, it was during my time as adjutant that he was recruited. And then I think he was subsequently shortlisted for officer cadet, him and his brother Peter, together with, I think, the present CDS, Lieutenant General Masane Kinte, and some other officers, and I think civilians. So the board was composed of myself, a British officer, and Sellers, Sergeant Major Sellers, and maybe 1 or 2 other officers, which I can remember now.
The question is, where did he go for officer training?
Well, he went to Sanders.
And Lieutenant Alaji Kante at the time, where did he go for training?
Well, correction, I think I stand to be corrected on where Lieutenant Edward Singate went for training. But Alaji Kante was also among those who had attempted earlier on the CSB, but couldn't make it on the first attempt. And then I think subsequently he had another chance, and then he made it through.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Witness. But the question is, where did Kante go for his officer training?
Kante, if I can remember, went to Sandos.
So here we are. We have Kante and Singate. They both went to Sandhurst, correct?
As I said, for Singate, I stand to be corrected. I have to refer back to the files. But certainly, I think Kante went to. But those details are in the files, and we can check them.
And Sabali and Ture went to Fort Benning.
That's correct.
So this group comprised of officers who went, some of whom went to Fort Benning, and others went to Sandhurst.
That's correct.
What do you say to this suggestion that this group of junior officers all agreed that the training that was delivered by the Nigerians at Kudang was not good enough, in spite of the fact that they trained from different military academies?
I'm not sure whether 4 young officers out of all the officers, young officers in the then Gambia National Army would constitute a representative sample of the then National Army.
I appreciate that, Mr. Witness, and we're not making that suggestion at all. But you did answer that the criticism that was leveled against the Nigerians for the quality of their training stemmed from the fact that these officers had different military trainings. And there was this issue. You teased each other on the basis of the fact that some trained in Sandhurst and some trained in the U.S., and that you believe that the training in the U.S. was higher. But this group of officers, because they trained in the system or the U.S. system, criticized the Nigerians for their training because the system was different. What I'm now trying to show to you is that among those officers who met that evening in Kudang and talked about or criticized the Nigerians for the kind of training they were offering, they did not train from one particular tradition or from one school. They trained from different traditions and different schools. So how do you reconcile that with your answer?
Again, I would say and insist that it's a question of subjective perception. There were some officers who were trained in Pakistan, and I think they were also very qualified and efficient officers. And then they were also within, and they were not hard to criticize the system. So if 4 out of all the officers, came up with that conclusion, which was not articulated loud enough, for corrective actions to be made, then I will take it that, well, maybe that was a private perception, which was not shared with the chain of command, and then for corrective remedies.
Thank you very much for that answer. But in your view, as a superior officer, was that complaint legitimate?
As I said, in the Army, the system is that if a junior feels that something is not going according to what he thinks is the right way, there is an avenue for him to make his opinion known via the chain of command, and then a panel or his immediate commander would adjudicate. And if it is found to be something objective and based on concrete facts, remedial measures will be taken.
That is certainly the procedure for making complaints in the Army. But the question I ask is whether the grievance that those officers had at the time, whether that grievance was legitimate in view of the facts, or wasn't it?
By and large, I think it was not legitimate.
We have heard that the political situation that existed at the time in 1993 and 1994 badly affected the soldiers in the Gambia National Army. Would you say that that assessment is correct or not?
Well, nothing that I know of. Again, individuals form their own opinions based on their background and the circles in which they move on. But certainly, to my own knowledge, the majority of the Gambian officers, and that includes the likes of myself, were busy with what our constitutional role and mandate was, and certainly we had no cause, to be dissatisfied with what we saw as the objective realities then in the country.
Would you agree to the suggestion that as the most senior Gambian officers at the time, you were out of touch with what was happening to the rank and file?
No, because in my own summary of my career, I think I was all the time with the men. Starting from second lieutenant, I was with a platoon moving up to a company, and just a month before my redeployment to the army headquarters, I was company commander in Farafenye. So I was very well aware of the situation with both the officers and the men on the command.
But physical presence does not necessarily mean that you are aware of everything that is going on within the group. Is that correct?
Well, knowledge of everything, omnipotence, I think, is the realm of the gods. But certainly, within the parameters of my job, I was aware of the state of mind and morale of the troops under command.
But the group in Kudang, 3 of your company commanders were alleged to have met together that night and expressed amongst themselves dissatisfaction as to how the Nigerian officers were conducting the training, and you were not aware of it.
I think we will correct that statement. They were not company commanders. They were platoon
commanders. Platoon commanders within your own company, people who worked directly and immediately below you. All 3 of them converged together and discussed their dissatisfaction about the training that was offered by the Nigerians, and you were not aware of it.
When you say my company, you are meaning the company that I was commanding. This
Yes.
was an exercise scenario, and then troops were drawn from across all the serving members. So it was a composite thing. It was not an integral company from one unit. It was composed of different elements and brought together and formed into companies. So at that time, both Sana Sabali and Lieutenant Singate were posted in Yundum. It was only Yankuba Toure who was with us in Farafenye.
Thank you very much for that clarification. What I'm trying to drive at is, since you talk about it, it's about perception. What I'm trying to drive at here is that there was a difference in perception by those who were higher up, including yourself, and those who were immediately below you, the lieutenants and the second lieutenants. Would you agree to that assessment?
Well, I think if I may come back to this, the 3 was not representative of was not a representative sample of the officers. So in any military situation, a barrack situation, you have what we commonly refer to as barrack lawyers or rabble rousers. So these are elements of soldiers or officers who feel that they know. And most of the time, they take pride, and probably in their own perception, they endear themselves to their fellows by, trying to raise some criticisms on any situation. So I would classify them as rabble rousers then.
Well, you seem to equate lawyers with rubble rousers. That's not a very nice compliment of us, but yeah, we will leave it at that. But what I'm trying to drive at here is that it's not just those three officers. I gave you the example of those three officers to show that these three officers work directly under you. And during that period they take steps to suggest that their position or their views were completely different from yours. But if you look at the information that is available, there were more officers who appeared to be dissatisfied with the presence of the Nigerians. So what I want to establish is whether there was a difference in opinion by the more senior officers as compared to the officers below them.
I think my honest answer is that, these are nationalistic sentiments, and any time that, a foreign party comes to occupy some responsible positions in another country, naturally there would be resentment, there would be, criticisms, and then I think this was no exception.
So you would now agree that such was the case? There was resentment and criticism of that particular state of affairs?
Again, I would refer to my previous answer, that it was not very loud. If they were undercurrents, maybe they were within, but certainly not something that will be so obvious for any reasonable person not to understand.
Now, can you tell us where you were on 22nd July 1994?
As I said, when I was redeployed from Farafenni, I was posted at the Army headquarters as SO2 Operations and Training, and then I was answerable to the colonel responsible for operations and training. And then within that week, I think we had information that there would be a visiting American naval ship, and that they wanted to exercise their troops jointly with some elements of the Gambia National Army. And for that matter, we needed to prepare operations orders to create a scenario and then some sort of a workable exercise plan. It was, I was involved in those preparations.
And what was going to be the nature of this exercise, if you can tell us just bits that you can discuss publicly?
I think the scenario was going to involve some of the Navy, the then Marine units and the visiting American Marine troops converging around the Denton Bridge on the Serkunda end of the bridge, at around 9 or so. And then from there, they would be trucked to the exercise general area of Mandinari, where, of course, the Yundum troops would have been marshaled, and then the exercise would roll on. So this was the operations that was planned.
Okay, and that morning, did you go to work?
I woke up on Friday, the 22nd of July, and put on my uniform and headed towards Westfield, where I usually pick up a public transport to go to Banjul. When I reached Westfield, this was around 7:30 going to 8, there was no vehicle. There was scarcity of vehicles. And then, most of the vehicles that were heading to Banjul eventually were returning back. So I stayed a bit of time there before I had a pickup.
And who did you eventually join to go to Banjul?
As I stood there, Captain Ibrahim Akambi drove in his private vehicle, and then I think he was with Captain Wilson, Ben Wilson. They picked me up at that point.
What happened after they picked you up?
Well, we headed to Banjul, and around Steam Corner, the traffic started to dense, and then at some point we were moving very slowly. We decided that Kambi should drive on the edges of the road so that we can fast track our movement. So he did, and then about 200 meters before the bridge, we were stopped by a group of soldiers with weapons from Yundum, and then they were not in very orderly manner, but they had guns, and then they were in effective control, and they sealed the Serekunda end of the Denton Bridge.
Were there any officers present at the time?
I didn't see any officer then. No, not my encounter. I didn't encounter any officers.
Here you are in this vehicle with Captain Kambi, Captain Wilson, yourself, Captain Jata. Who was the most senior captain amongst you?
I think some little bit of correction. Captain Jata was not at the vehicle then, but when we were stopped by the soldiers, they told us that there was a military coup going on and that we should report to their officers at Yundum. And then they named Sana Sabali and Lieutenant Singate.
Who was the most senior captain amongst you at the time?
When they gave us those orders, we decided that we should turn back and then head towards Fajara Barracks. As we wheeled the vehicle to join the other lane, then we saw Captain Jata Babukar, and then Lieutenant Alpha Kinte. So they flagged us, and then we let them in, and then all of us proceeded to Fajara Barracks.
Who was the most senior officer amongst you?
I think by rank, Captain Jata or Wilson was most senior. I cannot remember specifically, but in the order of our commissioning and promotion, it was Jata or Wilson Jata, then myself, Kambi, and then Lieutenant Alpha Kinte.
Who amongst you spoke to the soldiers you found at the bridge?
I think Kambi or Wilson spoke to them, but later Jata also was able to tell us that the soldiers have sealed the bridge. He's been told the same message with us.
At this stage, was any of you armed?
No, we were not armed.
Did you comply with the order that was given by the soldiers who sealed the bridge?
Yes, we had no option, so we decided that instead of going to Yundum, we should fall back to Fajara Barracks, which we assume at that time was still under loyal command, so that when we go there, we can join the officers, the gendarmerie officers, or the tactical support or group officers who were there, and see what we are going to do with the situation.
What time did you arrive at the bridge?
We arrived at the bridge at that time of around 9:30 or 9 somewhere, going to 10. I definitely don't remember the exact time.
Can you tell us what the situation was like around the bridge?
I think there was commotion, there was panic, because most of the commuters who were heading to Banjul were either blocked. Those of them who were not patient enough to wait were torn in at their various points to head back to Serekunda. And then, the group of soldiers that we encountered completely sealed us, and we didn't know what, about 200 meters from the bridge, so we couldn't see what deployment was on the bridge.
What was their posture, of the soldiers you found sealing that end of the bridge?
I think their posture was very, very, very aggressive, because naturally as soldiers, when you deploy them on live operations, in a coup, certainly it was not a party. So it meant they had orders that they would go around with whatever orders they were given.
How were they dressed?
The regular GNA cabo with some weapons and some magazines, with their weapons also loaded with with magazines, which I assume with live rounds as well.
Would you say that they appeared battle ready?
Yes, they were in battle order.
And you left the bridge and you said you headed to Fajara Barracks.
Yes, we headed to Fajara Barracks. By the time we reached the gate of Fajara Barracks.
Why Fajara Barracks instead of Yundum Barracks?
Because at that time, as officers, we didn't want to jump into a situation that we didn't know. And because these soldiers who regularly would have obeyed and respected you as a senior officer were now giving you orders, you know, it was not the norm. So we said, well, if that is mutiny, and then we were not in the loop, we were not part of it, it was better to try and locate, you know, elements that were still loyal to the then government, and then see what we do about it.
And so you went to Fajara Barracks. Tell us what you found at Fajara Barracks.
At Fajara, we met that the camp has already fallen, and then we met another set of soldiers manning the main gate to the barracks, and then they also ordered and advised us that we should now head to Yundum to answer to their commanders.
At this stage, who was in charge of Fajara Barracks?
Well, I don't know. All I know is that they were under the hands of a group of soldiers who came from Yundum. The senior commander or the NCO at that moment, I don't know.
This group of soldiers, were they also part of the coupists or not?
Yes, they were. That was our assumption, because they drove from Yundum. They drove from Yundum. Some went to the bridge. Others went to neutralize Fajara Barracks. So then definitely they were part of the group.
What did you do after you left Fajara Barracks?
We decided against going to Yundum again. And then we remembered that the colonels, Colonel Awonibi and Akoji, were living in Koto. And at that time also, the then designated commander of the National Army, General Dada, was away in Nigeria. So we decided to go to the residence of these colonels and maybe see what else can we do.
The people you just mentioned would have been the most senior commanders of the Gambian National Army at that time, correct?
Yes, at that moment, yes. In rank, they were the most senior.
And they were not only most senior, but they also had the most important command positions, correct?
Yes, certainly in the army, rank takes precedence in the hierarchy. So in the absence of the commander, the next senior in rank will assume the responsibility of command.
They also had responsibility for operations of the Gambian National Army, correct?
Well, again, I will state here that I didn't know the specific details of the MOU or the non-verbal that was signed between the government of the Gambia to designate the line of command. But certainly I know that Dada was appointed as the commander, and in the military hierarchy, you know, the most senior officer, as I said earlier on, will take over when in the absence of his superior.
You remember you testified earlier that one of them was commander of operations, correct?
Certainly, you know, if in the military order, if the commander is away, the operations, the guy responsible for operations takes precedence over the admin and would assume the command.
And is that the reason why you decided to go meet them instead of going to Yundum?
Yes, that is correct.
So did you find them at their residence at Kotu?
Yes, we did. When we reported, they briefed us on the information they had about the situation in Yundum and what they were able to glean from their communications with their other feeders.
Can you share that information with us?
Well, they told us that some elements of the soldiers with some junior officers at Yundum had beaten it earlier that morning, arrested some officers, seized the armory key from the adjutant, and then opened the armory, armed the rest of their supporters, and then had moved on to take the bridge, the Denton Bridge towards Banjul, and which we confirm.
Do you recall what time you arrived at the house of the colonel in Kotu?
I think this was upwards of 10 going to 11 in the morning.
Having received that information, what did you do?
Then naturally, as officers, we looked at the situation and then discussed on what to do. Then we decided that we should contact the CO at 2 Infantry Battalion in Farafenye, who was Colonel Salik, and then ask him to mobilize the soldiers and the officers, arm them, and then give them conveyance to head towards Bara, so that they can cross to reinforce the soldiers from the Banjul, in Banjul then.
Before all that happened, did the Nigerian commander of operations, who was now the de facto commander of the army, did he take charge of the situation to deal with it?
Well, yes, by all intent and purpose, given that, he was restricted to his house, and then whatever leverage he had was being exercised via the landline, the telephone. I think, yes, he took charge of the situation.
Did he do anything to exercise command?
As I said, he called Colonel Salik at Farafenye, and then, as I said, instructed that the Gambian soldiers and officers be mobilized, armed, and then, loaded on the trucks to take the route to Bara.
Did he immerse himself into the problem as commander, or did he wash his hands off it as a Gambian affair?
I think along whilst we were there going through it, it naturally dawned on us that this was going to be certainly viewed as an internal Gambian affair, and that, even whereas at that time command responsibility would naturally fall onto him, they were being careful to really take charge of soldiers and venture into a military operation then.
In a sense, that is a nice way of saying, he said, hands off, we Nigerians, you Gambian officers, take charge of the situation, correct?
I think that point would come later. But from that point up to the time that maybe your subsequent questions will reveal, he was sort of supportive, advising, and then coordinating.
At what point did he say, if at all he did, say this is a Gambian matter, you Gambian commanders take care of it?
I think when we gave those instructions to Colonel Salik, troops were mobilized under Captain Jiba, who was the most senior Gambian officer, Sam Jiba, and then among the platoon commanders were Lieutenant Samper Mendy, late now. There was also Lieutenant Yankuba Toure. There was also Lieutenant Vincent Jata, and the complement of senior non-commissioned officers and soldiers that were formed up. Exactly the number, I don't know, but a detachment, a group of soldiers were eventually mobilized. And then I think we also had a problem of transportation when the critical moment came to load them into trucks. The army truck that was there, or the army trucks that were there, was not functional.
So, what did you ask them to do?
We then ordered them to get to the town of Farafenye and then commandeer available trucks and use them as conveyance to Bara.
Do you know whether they did that?
Yes, certainly they did that, and then they eventually boarded some vehicles, trucks, or whatever, with buses. I didn't know the details of that, but they were conveyed to Bara.
And this group was coming from Farafenye, and they eventually arrived in Bara, correct?
Yes, eventually they arrived in Bara. I must also state here that when they left Farafenye, because of the lack of radio communication means, then we were not able to monitor them and then to see their progress from Farafenye to Bara. So eventually, when they came, I think I learned that they arrived late at Bara, around 6 or so, and then at that time the ferry was no longer operational.
So do I understand you to mean that there was no communication equipment that would enable you to communicate with the troops during their trip from Farafenye to Bara? Is that correct?
No, there was no communication equipment because, you know, the infantry or the army depends on HF and VHF radios for military operations. And then based on the composition, they will have various ranges of communicating. But certainly a base station would have been established between Army headquarters and Farafenye, but the complementing sets of radios, you know, that the operation commanders will carry in the field was not there.
Do you know whether the Nigerian commander at Farafenye went with the troops?
No, they didn't. None of the Nigerian soldiers from Farafenye followed the soldiers, the Gambian soldiers, to Bara.
At what stage did you realize that the Nigerians did not wish to be involved?
Whilst we were there, again, I think we were also trying to make telephone calls and find out, and then the operation, the colonel that I mentioned earlier on, had also some calls to the then commander of the Marine Unit, Major Antuman Saho, and then at around 2:30, well, we realized then that the then president, through Antuman Saho, had already abdicated, what I would say, abdicated the seat of government and had gone into the visiting American ship.
My question really was, at what stage did you realize that the Nigerian commander did not wish to be involved in what was considered an internal Gambian matter?
I think from the time we mobilized the troops from Farafenye, you know, and the subsequent thing, we realized that, you know, as the event unfolded, you know, they were naturally being careful. And then certainly, you know, they didn't take it up as a national call then to get involved in what was seeming to be an internal Gambian affair.
Did they tell you that they were not to be involved in an internal Gambian matter?
Well, explicitly not in words, you know, but as mature and sensible officers, you know, you gauge the enthusiasm with which people approach tasks, especially in an emergency situation like that. And then we subsequently, you know, advise ourselves that, well, these people will not be going to fight to restore the civilian government.
what was the net effect of such lack of enthusiasm by the Nigerian commanders of the army?
Well, as I said, you know, when the commander is not very enthusiastic, then initiatives, you know, will not be very many. So ultimately, it dawned on us, the Gambian officers, that, you know, maybe this was outside their mandate, and that if there is going to be any solution to the situation, it must emanate from us.
Would you say that at this stage there was a break in the command structure of the army?
Yes, certainly. There was a complete break in the command and control structure from the early morning. Because, as I said, at Yundum, which was then the most important military deployment, the commander was a Nigerian, and we learned that he was then in his house, was unable to report, and then the Gambian officers who were there, you know, were either locked, the ones at least the Kupis perceived to be any threat to them, they were locked, and then there was no identifiable chain of command.
And there was no identifiable Gambian officer who could take command of the situation at the time?
No. From our corner, then I think we knew, as I told you, we had the seniority. We know who was senior, but certainly this was an operation sales now, and anybody was free to make an input.
Apart from the 3 or 4 captains who were present there, was there any Gambian officer who was senior to you?
I think, yes, at that time, if I remember very well, Major Chris Davis was the most senior Gambian officer. And then I think he was appointed as the battalion 2IC in Yundum. I stand to be corrected on that. But yes, in country, Major Chris Davis was the most senior Gambian officer, and then by rank also, Major Antuman Saho was also senior. He was at the Marine unit. And the rest of the senior ranks were Captain Ablai Conte, who was on military training in the US, and Captain Omar Fai, and then Babukar Jara and Wilson, in descendant order like that.
Would you agree that when the Nigerians relinquished command or relinquished the responsibility to address the situation, it created a command vacuum in the structure?
Certainly, yes. At the army level, there was a command vacuum.
Thank you very much for that. Let's now proceed with what happened after you spoke to Major Antuman Saho at around 2:30. What happened after that?
When we spoke to him, he informed us that then President Sadaud Jawara and some of his cabinet ministers, I think it included the Vice President, Sehu Sabali, the Finance Minister, Bakari Bunjadabo, and I think later on the then IGP, Inspector General of Police, Pasala Jain, all boarded the ship, and some other ministers and other senior government civil servants.
Having received that information, what did you decide to do next?
Well, we thought then that, you know, there was no political leadership in the country, because according to the constitution, which I later referred, you know, the president was then the commander-in-chief, and then even whereas he was a civilian, I think his duty to the state required that if an emergency comes in, he should take leadership of the situation. And then, since he had most of his senior advisors at the military, then in Banjul, we thought that as a minimum, there should have been some announcement to the nation to inform the general citizenry of the situation, and then also to declare it as illegal, and then to order not only the security forces, but all Gambians to start to do whatever they can do to stop it, which didn't happen. And then I think when the soldiers at the bridge and then along the way to Banjul learned that, you know, there was a vacuum in the political leadership, then there was this implosion of the security of the state. And then when we got the message that he has boarded the ship, the Nigerian colonel then turned to us and said, well, young officers, this is a critical moment in the destiny of the country, and then it is up to you to go and see what you do with the situation.
And what kind of advice, what did you understand him to mean when he said to you, you go and take care of the situation?
I think at that time we had a fair view of the characters who were leading the coup. So
can you explain what that means? A fair view of the characters. Tell us about these characters and what you understand, what you understood they were like at this stage.
I think at that time, based on the information we had, we knew that Lieutenant Sana Sabali was very critical. Lieutenant Edward Singate was very critical. Yaya Jammeh was also very critical. For Edward, we thought that he was a rash officer. Rash. Yes, he was.
R-A-S-H.
Rash officer, yes, please. And then, you know, he was adventurous, and then had a little bit of an exaggerated sense of ego and importance.
Yaya Jammeh?
For Yaya Jammeh, quite honest, I didn't know much about him because he was coming from the gendarmerie. And then the little encounters I had with him was that, well, in our military standards, he was not a very fine-tuned officer. And then intellectually also, well, he had a little bit of, you know, logical deficiency.
How about discipline?
Well, discipline, I think he was not what you call a well-mannered and comported officer.
Yankuba Toure?
Correction, Yankuba Toure was not on that, around that area.
Yes, but nonetheless, we still want to know how you officers, senior officers, perceived him at the time.
Before I get to Yankuba, I'll go to Sana Sabali.
Very well.
Yes, Sana Sabali was, let's say, not very disciplined. He had this propensity to get annoyed and agitated quickly. And then, you know, if somebody is not very composed, most of the time you don't make rational decisions. Then
maturity?
Maturity, no, he was not mature by all standards. He was just a small boy, you know, who is being trusted to a level and responsibility that, you know, he was not well prepared for.
Yankuba Toure?
Well, from my experience with Yankuba, I think he was a very, what I would call, pliant officer. Somebody who will try to please you and then, you know, be subservient to you. He was not the kind of officer who will challenge, you know. He was very pliant. He was a sneaky character, of course. Whatever you tell him, well, he complies. So that was my own perception of him.
Haidara?
Again, Haidara I didn't know, because Haidara was not in Yundum, and then because later I learned that he most of his childhood he spent in Sierra Leone. So there was no opportunity in which we had any encounter before July 22nd.
Interesting group of characters, would you agree?
Certainly.
So after around 2:30, your Nigerian commander abdicated responsibility and tell you, well, you Gambian officers go and sort out the situation. What did you do?
I think when he said that, then we looked at ourselves, and then I volunteered that I will go to the ground. Jata volunteered as well. That is Captain Babukar Jata. Captain Wilson, Captain Kambi, and Lieutenant Alpha Kinte excused themselves for personal reasons.
Did they say which personal reasons?
No, they didn't, but at least they were not comfortable going into an unknown situation, and I think for self-preservation, they didn't want to go with us.
And what did you do with Babukar, the two of you who decided to go and deal with the situation?
We had no vehicle, so we pleaded with Kambi to drive us to the Senegambia Beach Hotel area, where we persuaded one of the local tourist taxi drivers to drive us to Banjul.
Did you encounter any difficulty arriving in Banjul?
No. There was no stop, there was no checkpoint. We drove from Senegambia via this battle-hardened highway, then to Westfield, and then straight to the bridge. At the bridge, we crossed. At Bond Road, we wheeled, and then drove to the Marine Unit, where we met Major Antuman Sao.
Did you encounter any soldiers at the bridge?
Suddenly, they were not blocking the bridge anymore. There was no deployment of soldiers. I think if there was any, it would have been the regular ones who are going and coming, but not any military checkpoint also.
And do you recall what time you arrived at the Marine Unit?
I think we arrived at the Marine Unit a little after 3, going to 4. I was not very conscious of time, but that was around the time we arrived at the Marine Unit.
Tell us what happened when you arrived there.
When we arrived at the Marine Unit, we went to Major Saho's office, and then he told us, he confirmed what we have earlier learned, that the soldiers have taken over State House. The then president and most of his senior have boarded the visiting American ship, and that he was visited at some point by Sana Sabali, and then I think it was Second Lieutenant Edward Singate, and then at that time he was under compulsion to comply or to behave himself.
What do you mean by that?
Well, at that time, the de facto command of both the active soldiers and the state has fallen to the group of officers and soldiers, and then as he had no option but to sit where he is and wait for further instructions.
And having discussed with him, what did you decide to do next?
Well, after that, I decided that we should head to the State House, and then the same driver that took us to the Marine Unit drove us to the Albert Market gate of the State House.
Why did you decide to go to State House?
Because if I can recollect now, when we were about to leave the Nigerian officers, Colonel Awonibi called me and said, well, you officers must go and ensure that order is maintained. He told us that, in a situation like what we had in the country, the propensity for it to descend into chaos was very great if there is no mature handling of the situation. He also told me that power cannot exist in a vacuum, and as soon as we get there, if it is determined that there is no more political leadership in the country, we should institute a government to take the charge of the destiny of the country.
The Nigerians must have been very knowledgeable in these things, in coup d'etats, isn't it?
Well, certainly, Nigeria has a very turbulent history from independence to that point, and I'm sure most of the officers who were serving had, at one point or another during their career, witnessed or participated in the toppling of a government by either a civilian government or a military government, and they would have known what these steps would have been.
Would you consider that to have been just the right advice as to what to do under the circumstances?
Well, I think in my philosophical reading, I learned that the first rule in heaven is order. So whether legitimate or de facto, a country cannot move if there is no order. So as a military officer, and then at that critical juncture in our political history, I think our responsibilities was to maintain order and continuity.
And you accepted that advice, didn't you?
Yes, based on the objective circumstances, I did accept that advice.
And what happened when you arrived at State House?
When we arrived at the State House, the soldiers who were blocking the gate stopped us, and then we introduced ourselves. They went in to call Edward, to call one of the officers, and Lieutenant Edward Singade came to us.
And what happened when he arrived?
When he arrived, he told me then that, Captain Cham, where were you? Since the morning we've been trying to get hold of you, and then we didn't see you. We've done this, but we don't know what next to do. He turned to Babakar Jata, and said that he was not needed, and then he should go back.
He said, we have done this. What did you understand him to mean by we have done this?
I think then the situation was that they have toppled the Jawara regime, and that the country was in their hands. At least the seat of government was in their hands, and that the next step was to move forward and institute some mechanisms of a government.
Let's get this clear. You understood him to say, to mean that they have now toppled the government, they are now in charge, correct?
Certainly.
What did you say to him?
Well, after saying this, then condescendingly he turned to me and said, you captains should have done this before. You should have liberated the country. I told him that, well, that was not in our, what motivated us to join the army, and it was not in our planning.
What happened after that?
Well, we went together to State House, inside the State House, and then as we were entering where the gate heading to where the office of the Vice President is, Yaya Jammeh emerged from what I would call the southwestern end of the State House, and then met us on that road.
What was his comportment?
Well, he was in a very elated mood. He had a uniform and some local jujus, which were crisscrossed across his uniform. And then I think there was a sense of satisfaction in the achievement that he had at the moment.
At this stage, where was Captain Jata?
As I stated, he was ordered by Singate to go back. So then I asked the driver who conveyed us to that point to drop him at the Gambia National Army headquarters and for him to wait for us.
Did you ask who was in charge, who organized this coup?
I think when we met Shaya and Edward, they then came up and said, the four of them, him, Lieutenant Singate, Second Lieutenant Singate, Lieutenant Yaya Jammeh, and Second Lieutenant Sana Sabali, together with Second Lieutenant Sadebu Haidara, with some unnamed senior non-commissioned officers, were the architects of the coup.
Considering that they sent Captain Jatta away, what did they need from you at the time?
Well, at that time, I think they knew that I was one of the few Gambian officers who had the practical knowledge of how to command people, and then because of my composure, I had the sense of presence and the realism to understand situations and then to handle them, in a mature form.
At this stage, did they trust that you would join them?
Well, certainly they didn't ask me to join them. But as I said, Edward told me they were looking for me. So, which means, they wanted some critical advice and input from myself.
They invited you into State House, correct?
Yes, they invited me in, and then we climbed those few steps to the main sitting room from the northeastern end of the main State House building, and went into the sitting room.
You had discussions with them, didn't you?
Yes, as we entered there, and then we sat, and then a group of officers and other ranks started to collate around where we were sitting. So then the practical question of what next to do came. And then...
Who did they ask what next to do?
Well, as I told you earlier on, when Edward encountered me to the gate, he told me very clearly that they've overthrown the government, but they don't have any further plan of what to do. And that was why they were looking for me.
They didn't know what to do. Those were his words, weren't they?
Yes, those were his exact words that were spoken to me.
And that was why they brought you in, correct?
Well, I think that was part of the reasons they brought me in.
At that meeting, could you tell us who else was involved?
I was certainly present. Samsudin Sar also was present.
What rank at the time?
At that time, he was the captain, and he was attached to the Ministry of Defense as an SO1 liaison officer at the Ministry of Defense for the GNA.
Who else?
Lieutenant Yai Jammeh was there. Lieutenant Edward Singata was there. I think, if my memory serves me very well, I think Lieutenant Suare was also among, probably Captain Sonko, but these were the prominent people I can now remember.
Can you tell us what happened there?
Then we said there is a need to set up a transitional council, and then I coined the phrase Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. And then, as we were deciding on the number that would compose it, well, we settled around 11 people to be made up of 6 from the Gambia National Army, 3 from the then defunct Gendarmerie, and 2 from the police. So that would make a total of 11.
Who made that proposal?
Well, when we agreed on the name, the nomenclature of the council, then it was an open forum. So, but basically, I would say myself and Samsar eventually guided that decision, because we decided we wanted to have an odd this thing, so that in our perception then, whenever the council would have been the supreme organ of the state, and that we thought that based on the traditions of military rule, there would have been at least, if not, there would have been internal democracy and internal debates, and then whenever an important issue comes, ultimately it will be subjected to a vote, and then the majority, or the simple majority, would carry the day then.
How was that proposal received?
Well, by and large, it was okay, to the point, but before we could reach on a decision, Sana Sabali, who was away, stormed in and came, and then he expressed dissatisfaction that, you know, being a central member of the group of 4 that overthrew the government, he was being excluded in a critical and important decision like the setting up of a council.
Can you tell us how he described the situation?
Well, he was like I said earlier in my earlier description of him, he was not a well-behaved officer. He was emotional, sentimental, and then sometimes prone to anger.
Can you describe what he said when he arrived?
Well, certainly he disturbed the meeting. Specifically, he stated what I have just said, but any other phrase he may use could have escaped me. But I later learned that, you know, part of what he said was monkey will not walk and baboon eat.
What did you understand that to mean?
I think at that time there was a sense of insecurity in him because, you know, in what we were doing, there was no plan to exclude anybody, as I have just stated. So there was no concrete decisions. And then maybe he came late to join a discussion, which he was not a party when it started. And then if he had just come and then made himself present and listened, he could have come up with an input, a constructive input that would have carried the discussion forward.
What happened after he stormed the room and expressed his dissatisfaction about what was happening?
I think then there was a little bit of chaos, and then eventually we asserted that, well, yes, it was them who organized the coup, but the affairs of the country was more than any individual, and that in the interest of the country, you know, whether you actively participated or not, the situation on the ground was such that we needed to establish order, albeit however temporal it would be, and that in the best interest of our tradition, we should be civil and civilized to engage in constructive discussion. So I think that didn't carry any sense, and then ultimately Yaya Jammeh and Edward Singate took him aside and then said they were going to talk to him.
What happened after that?
After talking to him for some time, they came back and said we should suspend the decision on the council and its composition and get back to practical issues and maybe come back to it later.
And was that done? What happened afterwards?
Yes, that was done. And then, as I said, the thing was going to around 5 or so. And then eventually information emerges that some group of soldiers or NCOs were starting to head on a looting spree. We also had information that there was some mobilization from Senegal heading towards our borders, and then we needed to deal with the situation.
At this stage, was there any announcement as to what had happened to the country?
I was told, I didn't hear it, but they said at one point, Captain Modu Sonko went into one of the radio stations and made some announcement. But immediately after we agreed on that, I think if I can remember, either that moment around 5, I had an interview with the Radio France International.
Why you?
Well, I think then the situation was that it befell on me to make some. When the telephone came, I was not aware, so it was brought in, and then I was asked to respond to the questions of the journalists on the other side.
Who asked you?
If I can remember, it was the consensus of Edward Singate and Yaya Jammeh then.
At this stage, were there any plans as to what the junta would do?
As I said, there was no concrete plans. At that time, we were about to make a decision on the setting up of our Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council and determining the membership, which was interrupted. And then there was this report that, you know, there was some threatening developments, both internal and external. And then we agreed that, you know, for the soldiers, there needed to be some officers who will be tasked to go around and then try to contain them, police them, and that I should also head towards the residence of the then Senegalese ambassador, whom I forgot is something young also, and then try to get some clarifications on the reports that Senegalese troops were mobilizing and headed towards the country.
Did you go alone?
Well, I went with a group of soldiers escort. I cannot remember exactly which of the officers joined me, but certainly, if my memory don't fail me, there were some officers with me, so we drove to the residence in Old Cape Road, Bakau.
At this stage, where was Lieutenant Singate?
Singate was in State House. Sabali was in State House then. Haidare was there. And then when the meeting broke up, we had multitasking. I think Sabali, Singate were asked to go and verify the reports of this looting, and then some other officers. We left Yajame at State House.
How about Samsudin Sar?
Samsudin Sar was also there, but I'm not sure at that point he accompanied me to Bakau. I stand to be corrected.
Did you eventually meet the Senegalese ambassador?
Yes, I did. At his residence, he was not there. Then we turned back, headed towards Banjul, and then after crossing the bridge, on the Banjul end of Dentim Bridge, where the police post normally is situated now, I saw his vehicle and flagged him down.
Did you talk to him?
Yes, I spoke to him. I introduced myself and then told him that it was our information that Senegal was massing troops heading towards the Gambian border, and that was disturbing.
How did he respond?
Well, he never denied or affirmed that. And then I asked where was he coming from. Then he told me he went on a round to drive around Banjul to see what was happening.
Did you speak to him again subsequently?
Yes, I tried to reason with him, and then I think there was a little bit of hesitancy and reluctance. So I reminded him that this was, at that point, an internal Gambian affairs, you know, which we feel could be handled internally, and then reminded that, you know, we were still conscious of the memories of the 1981 abortive coup, and that, you know, we would not like a repeat of a situation like that. And then we said, I told him among the other things that, you know, let him convey our goodwill to the government of Senegal, and then our willingness to discuss issues of common bilateral interest once this dust settles down. And then I judged that that was not also, you know, convincing as well.
Did you ask him or inform him that Senegal should not intervene?
Yes, after this exchange, brief exchange, I thought I had to scale up the negotiation, and then I told him that it is our information and knowledge that there is about 300,000 Senegalese in the country, and that if any Senegalese soldier should cross an inch of Gambian territory, we will not be in a position to guarantee their safety anymore.
What happened after that discussion?
Well, he told me that he will convey our message to his government, and then will get back to us at some point when he has a reply.
Did he come back to you at all?
Yes, suddenly, if I can remember very well, around midnight on that night, we had a call from him requesting that we go and get our reply from his residence.
You had to go in person, didn't you?
At that point, I went with Captain Samsar and Lieutenant Edward Singate together with our guards.
And what happened when you met the ambassador? What did he say?
Well, when we went, there was at least a 30 minutes delay before the gates were eventually opened. And then he received us in his sitting room, and that stated among many things that he has conveyed our message to the government of Senegal under President Abdou Diouf, and that we should be assured that Senegal was not intending to invade or to in any way participate in the situation that was evolving in the Gambia, and that he was willing and ready to work with us once the dust has settled.
With that information, what did you do next?
I think he also gave us the direct telephone number of then President Diouf, and then after exchanging pleasantries, we headed back to State House.
What happened after that at State House?
When we went, we debriefed the rest of the council that was not there. That's Sana Sabale Jamme, and then we gave him the number. And then it was already late. I think he tried, but the number was late. So we said that early morning he will make a call to President Diouf.
Was that call in fact made?
Yes, the call was made in the morning of Saturday before we went out. And then, there were pleasant exchanges. And then I think even the Jammeh spoke with him in some French, some form of French. And then there was at least an evolving bond then.
You received support from Abdou Diouf at this stage?
Well, I will not call it support, but at least we received understanding that he will remain neutral to the events, and that our worst fears of him deploying Senegalese troops to the country was allayed.
Thank you very much for that answer. Mr. Chairman, it's 10 minutes to the lunch break. I now cede the floor to the commissioners for questions.
Thank you very much, Council, for that, and thank you, General Cham. General, when you made the switch to go to State House, work with the officers who have now overthrown the constitutional order, did you struggle with balancing perhaps your commitment to maintaining or respecting the constitution of the country with what seemed from your testimony to be a motivating factor for you, the existence of a power vacuum? This was perhaps what got you involved with them. Was there any struggle in your own mind how to balance these two things?
I think, as I stated in my testimony, this was in our appreciation of the situation. Concrete facts have emerged that there was a power vacuum, and then the issue was that what was in the best interest of the country? Do we normalize situations and get some semblance of order and continuity, or do we remain tenacious to back something that was no longer real? So as realists, we accepted that de facto there should be a regime. Okay, and then we also, what I want to state here is that when we started along the way, there was also the possibility, which I will come to later, of reaching out or having some sort of a negotiation with President Jawara, and I'm sure in the subsequent listing that will emerge. So at that point, personally, I was guided by what, in my own perception, was in the best interest of the country.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Manyima, please. Go ahead, Bojang.
Commissioner Bojang. Mr. Chair, when Edward asked Mr. Jatta when Edward asked Mr. Jatta that they don't need him, and you asked Mr. Jatta to go and stay somewhere around Banjul, did you communicate to him? Did you communicate to him what Mr. Edward said need?
I think he was present. When Edward turned to him and said, "We don't need you, go away," I told Edward that no, that was not discipline, that was not respect, and that, you know, whatever the situation, Jatta was a senior officer and he deserves some respect. So then, not to prolong a situation that could lead to some unforeseen situation, I advised Jatta that yes, he can go and stay at the army headquarters and then maybe await for the instructions.
Thank you. Imam Jallo, Commissioner Jallo, please.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Cham, your other earlier officers who confessed here in this, where you are now sitting, all seem to show that there was dissatisfaction, anger, and indiscipline among your young officers. Did you ever make the attempt as senior officials of the Gambia National Army to convey these feelings and dissatisfactions to the government of the day?
There is a system in the army which was known as Dorba, which is a forum where undercommands will meet at intervals with their commanders, and that any issues of discipline, welfare, or whatever would be aired on those Dorbas. And I can remember very well that where I was posted in Farafenye, we used to have regular Dorbas, and then we used to have this session where a Dorba is a very free environment. A private soldier can stand up and say anything he feels and ask any question he wants, and then the command is obliged to give answers without any consequences. So I was not posted at Yundum where they were, but I think such such forums would have been available to officers. And then I think all the officers would have known that there was a channel in which to convey your grievances or whatever.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones.
My question is, did you convey these feelings and thoughts to the government of the day?
I think you are asking me whether personally I did convey that. And I said that in my own establishment, before my posting to the army headquarters, which was 2nd Infantry Battalion, you know, I work under a commanding officer, which was Lieutenant Colonel Salik. And as a company commander, there were instances where such forums were held. And if these forums are held, there is always a secretary, which is the adjutant, who jots down the questions, the answers, and whatever decisions were made. And then it was also the responsibility of the command to convey those to higher command. So specifically, at no point during my career was I directly responsible to communicate to the then political masters. But yes, our inputs and the concerns of our officers were conveyed via such forums.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Jones. Thank you, General. In your testimony, you explained or you gave us an indication as to where the Nigerians were on the day of the coup itself. Do you perhaps by any chance know where the U.S. officials were, those who were supposed to take part in the training, as well as Gambia counterparts who were supposed to be part of the exercise? Because you had indicated earlier that it was supposed to be in different locations. So do you know what happened to them, and particularly for the U.S. counterparts, do you know where they were on the day of the coup?
For the troops at Yundum, I think they would have been in Yundum, and whatever plans were made must have been aborted by the eventual developments. For the American soldiers, they were in their boat, because ultimately, when the situation descended into chaos, I think they didn't venture out of their boat. And in my subsequent testimonies, I will state to this commission that at one point their commander actually came to meet us at State House.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr.
Commissioner Carr, I hope with this question I'm not preempting the legal team, but I want to know what criteria was used to distribute positions to junta members, as well as recruit civilians into the new administration.
I will ask advice from the lead counsel to state whether I can preempt the subsequent testimonies or wait for the appropriate time.
Well, the commissioner asks a question. It's for him to decide whether he wants an answer or not. But this is something that we would come to in the testimony. So if Commissioner Carr is a bit patient, I am sure the testimony of the witness would cover that point. But we are in your hands.
I think well said. Just a little summary of what will happen. What I will state, I think one of the criteria then when we managed to set up a semblance of order was that we will opt in some professional, civilians, with some knowledge or a repute for their areas of competencies into the council as ministers.
Thank you. Preempting seems to be alluded to. So, Commissioner Carr, if you don't mind, hold the question until in the afternoon. Any further questions, Amy? Commissioner Samba?
Commissioner Samba, Mr. Cham, I want to ask these questions because since you were in Farafenye, Kudang, and then Bara, where was Yaya Jammeh? Yes.
I think Yaya Jammeh came to the Gambia National Army following the disbanding of the then gendarmerie. Yaya Jammeh was a gendarmerie officer. So when the then government decided to disband the gendarmerie, I think this was consequent upon the breaking of the earlier confederal agreement. At some point, it was decided that they should now disband the gendarmerie and take some of the officers to either the police or the army. So some of the gendarmerie officers, I think a prominent name which had appeared before this commission was AIG Chongan and others, were taken to the police. Yaya Jammeh, Sadibo Haidara, if I can remember, Lieutenant Marong, were taken or brought to the Gambia National Army.
Oh,
within that rank, are you ahead him or he was ahead you?
By rank, Yaya Jammeh was a subordinate. I was a captain, and then he was, I think, a lieutenant.
Thank you very much. Council, if you don't have any further questions, we would take a 1-hour lunch break and resume our proceedings at 2:30. Is that all right? Thank you very much. Our meeting is adjourned.
Assalamu alaikum badingolo mbal kontuna kal bismillah ya dinkrato dami alongo wala Trrc duns hotel ko to satre okono siome alongo wala bakere ni seri ar kuma kangola membe den to nyala karola memboda mola tedi aroto memo general mamcham ay tandiro ke ko lame alongo wala bakere nun o wato nyina 1994 sango akode kome alonko leba danin karandirola ye memfoko Gambia sojarolo nyanta ka soto anin America la bakono sojarolo ni fenete me alonko akaron nyi alola talno bari amanna kenu wato me alonko wole keta kudeta nyintu moti anara fanan ka tenten nyinin karo me yalon ko nyinin kar folo ya nyinin kala o be dendinin fanala me yalon ko nigindiro me yalon ko wala sotota Gambia sojarol ni la karandir lalu memo Nigeria sojarol ti woni ndo nyin ala al halo nyin kala nyadile kuma me yalon ko ay wali tandi commission wala nyatino wala wala nyinde ko ako nyini kindo me yalon ko sotota ko sonko le na sotota jele waranto nyafa bali me yalon ko wala kada al haloti mol men yalon ko wala mabe tan wodin kranyindo aba fala ko do fenne me yalon ko ateman bo kilin kalamaje bare mol men yalon ko fan wala mu molti menu karanta nu wodin kranyindo o wato la Gambia la sojar fanala abaytan ko woto mo dantan wala molti me yalon ko wo molu nyina o fanna nyina akeda fendi me antina ko ila ke barol ning betembo mendo atenda fana kaytandiro ke ko de mol men yalon ko wala mo sojarol nyinti ako dolbe kono wolu karanta dinkiral menu yalon ko mankiliya dol karanta America dol karanta Pakistan modol fango beje men yalon ko wol karanta Angleterre ñinin ka ron natanan ka bonan letan selbol sambay fal ako General Chamia ko mbella file safonye 1994 22nd July wolungo itabe no mentole waranto wakul men yalon ko ke fon ko keta kudeta wete tramintole ay tandiro ke kude nyumulu tanetulung me yalon ko ate wultanu somonda juno talaworo ma fon la tata Westfield proka mortonye ta do ko banjul ami headquarters memu stoyaro la kunda bati ako kabira tata nyindin kany nyin ko memu Westfield ako abe moto bolaje ako bare moto ko nata ke fendi me alon ko ako le ata no mabake o dingra nyinto ako kabire beje tumala menna nata moje me alon ko wala mo ay Ibrahim Makambiti wala moto nyin nata bula wala nin Captain Wilson ako nata bula moto nyinna ako kabire bula moto nyinna tumala mena itata fo ifutata dentim bridge beje walenkan metar keme nyondrong mutola siya kamala silo nyimbe detering sojarol nate londi ako sojarol ye pare ila pare nya balobe ya keke soti ani doran ko tan men yalon ko ni aje fankalo ne ko to nya nyunube damen ko kurindi natara ko wala be kelron be pare ringa kamale ako dinkrato o sojarol nata kibaro dila ande ko be tembo men do tetambino la kada banjul baring kuma kan dita ko sojar dolelo ye kudeta nyin kurukuru anu be tembo men do wole kan wole di ko yundum la campagne ise muluje tawoto ni wo nyaton ko nyin sen nyoje memu sada sabal nyolti aning Edward Singate nyol ako kabire wo ko nyin keta dron wotu mole tenata ka tenten dinkrato dame yalon ko wala mu nyin tentenda dinkrato dame yalon ko wala mu fajara barracks ako nyaaje etara fajara barracks eto le men soto ko nyinto dron wala nyin ko ning futata woto salonno nyaadi natara ko sojarol be woto waranto tanko bunda molu men yalon ko wala be mansa kunda koma je sefiro dada no nyamena ako manata yunum barracks wo nyama etara fajara barracks ako kabiri futata woto bunda banyinto inata sojarol taraje men yalon ko fanam benu tanko bundala karol laje e be kantarola o dinkra nyindo e wol fanan ni la joran jawol len wol nata aytandi la ko istano damento wala mu yundum baraks nyintide ako yundum baraks wala keta dinkrati dami yalon ko ye chodi wala ko si fero keno isita o dinkra nyinato ako kabirin wo ko nyin nata foye wo nyama nata tente wala nyama ye silo nyinta kata dinkrato dami alon ko wala Nigerian nolu to ila nyaton ka fula me alon ko Nigeria sojarol e be nyaton ka yala Gambia sojar fannal ako nata ta wala sabati dinkrato dami alon ko wala mu ko tuti ako kabire tata nyin dinkra nyin to nata o sojar fulol tarajele sojar nyaton ka fulo wala nata kumandiro ke nyin telefono la karola ka ferol landino muna kulube kenola men santinala nyin kudeta ala ale halo isamera no nyamen ako kono e nara kumandiro ke mola me alon ko fana mu nu Nigeria nolti e ka fa Colonel Salik ako atebe nu maral kampola memmo farafenye wo watola ako kabirin kumandiro nara tama itema Nigerian fulol nara kacha ko sembentu yandro keno joran la karola me alon ko anin sojarolu menu be pare la kabonan dinkrato dami alon ko wala mu farafenyati isina kafu sojarol ma menu be banjul pour isa kundunte o keno nyamen nyim kudeta nyaado ako kuma kangolu nata diwol lale anum fanan ferol nata dadale ya kata pour sojarol nyin se bono farafenya nyamen ye kidolu dilani kesolu ako bari men nata ke kole akoti wato moto ko mu ngay be balti bari moto ba me alon ko wolen tro kilonti farafenya la sojar kampo la karola ako ngay bo sotol nu wato tro ko mantra bore kam fang hello men bala wayantina atro ko nyim pantale ako wotuma enara kango nyim fanan di nyin sojarol la pour kata dinkrato dame alon ko wolen farafenya sate o konote ni tata moto bal je dulal to drong e so moto bal nyentano yena dinkrato me dami alon ko wolem barati ako nyim mol nata o fero ke men kata sojarolti anu nata la fo bara bad ngay ba kilim fanam benu sojar kundato wato wolen choki nyolo la karol ka nyomoyo keno ako fende me alon ko telefonol men sojarol ka ata ke muna fangala wol be fende men man sotonu ako wona radibe badundi ni nyim mol tema e mela al halo bendino ako tol fanan nada bo dinkra nyinto dami yalon ko wolemu talang fula kata talang fula nin tala ma fonla ako e boda dinkrato dami alon ko o Nigerian sojarol be wolto bari wole kuma kam men dila wole nyinte ko kolbe damen sa jakasta baka adunda nyokono anu nyimbe tembo mento aldam malu falsa hakli maya altol Gambia dingolu ka jube albe muna simfa nyata no la nyin kola ako tumalen tol nata ta pour ka nyinin droke motola karola pour ese fanse mentu yandino nyaadi kam ta banjul sato nyin kono dinkrato dami alon ko woltomu Marine headquarters ba kono sojarol la dinkra ako inata ta wala nyama Senegambia mafon la ko bajinga e makoy ay jindi Senegambia mafon la tenim bawkar jata ako barim bajinga nyol wali aytande ko de tolbe dame tol titano nyin dinkrato dame mu sojarolu men mu ba kono sojarol di la kunda ba memo Marine headquarters ti ako kabirim bajinga e anim babukar jata ay jindi dinkrado dami an ko len Senegambia ti ako nada taxi taraje nyin tourist taxi nada diamo drive boy e kay ko ay mako ay samba banjul ako ino drive nata ta wala nyama etata dinkrato dami alon ko wala mu bakono sojaro la kunda badi Marine headquarters etata mejo antuman saho taraje ako kabiring ifutata o dinkra nyinto wonata 50 ke kola me yalon ko wala mu fendi menu sotota nun membe dendin ning ali halola nyin kudeta molu men ya kurukuru ela lodla nin simfanya o fana e kuma kam men dila wolente ko ate fana manna ma kan keje amang baranin fengo fenna abe shiring abe lamoro ke kan nin kanwala barin kula me alon ko alopo citanu bulu jamala kono ako o dalilo kamala natata dinkiraro dame yalon ko wala mu ni Marine headquarters ako kabring sankandro antumana saho ye o ketolye nata itandila fananko mbetembo mento fam banko be kense arenne bari president jawara nala ministalu wol bulata nun kulun kono memo america ba kono sojaro law kulun nyindi anu wole ko Senegal banko kanne inspector general of police fanan pasala jany fanan be kulun kilin wala kono ako mejo antuman saho nata o itandila ako kabiru wakeda wotu molong ana atenim babukar jata enada foko mbatu ngata state house nin tata jense nyin karo keno ka long al halol be nyaadile pour ka kulta ka a londinin bulula ako inata wo driver kilung me samba wo tourist taxi driver inana tenteng etata dinkrado dame an ko len state house ti bar brief data law marché to bunda wa ma fonla inata ji woto e diamuta nin kantar lalie o tan kantar lal nata konodo mo kilim findita na me alon ko wala keda Edward Singate ako Edward kabirana ranang anata itandi kode babukar jata wo ma nyanna tarlaje ako way babukar jata bay ako kabiren Edward yo ke atanada fo babukar ko kol ma nyankata nyin al halo nyama dinni wala ke ba bayo on fendi me alon ko woni al halol man benno bare sa tisita ami headquarters ese mbatunje ako wotu malen wonata ta o dinkira nyinto pour que batum ako atani Edward tendenda konoto kabiri tata drong nyato demanding etata ya jamme je afindita nan dinkira do me alon ko wolen state house nyina kono bungo doti anata nan ako tumalen e be nata ta si saliba nyin kono kabiri futata o saliba nyin kono enata foko ebe sula ringa telale anu abenu mintole fo nyin kol be ketaten ako tumalon na kachana ta tambe da maltema kol men yalon ko wala ske simfanyalti menu be kenola membe dendin ning o mansa etella o sojare kudeta molla al halola ako jetolo inata kacha soto o kaja nyin kono captain Samsidin Sarbe jele yaya jamme Edward Singate anin suare kada fo captain Sonko ako bebe nu mabere mbe onyintole jeto inata men kacha wole nyinte ko e be londro kenola nyaadile man kundala mialon ko abekala maral bulolti ni sojarolla maral nyaton ko ya nyinkoto ako jeto inata men folo ke miro nyinte wala kam mo tannin kilin tombon me alon ko wala be maralo kala wo transition man sakunda nyinna ako kono AFPRC inata wol tombon ka ke toti Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council inata kambe wala tola me yalon ko e ba tola la wala mo tannin kilin ne fanambe kala nyaaton kolti ngin maral bulo nyin ko ako jeto nata je ko e la kasafiro la karola e ko sojar kundado mo woro si boto dinkra dami yalon ko wollele mu zandamo la karote kame tactical support group meno ba police wala fannala e ko yaje ko mo sabasi bo zandamo la karola anim fana mo fula wolse bo police kundado ako wala nara ke kachati me yalon ko e be wala ke kan drong sana sabal duntanang gabirin sana nata anata itandiro ke ko wobe keno nyimu jamfa balde pour molme yalon ko wolle ko kurukuru fo nata barala modol kanana lo ka fo ebe wati killing jamfa wulindile kama ako tumala ya jamening Edward Singate sana sabal muta ya samba nata te na kachara bar kabiri nata tumala menne murtanan drong ya itande ko nyin kansulu londi ko o bebe danna o wato nyinala ya ko bula folo fo nyaalo si ku kuma dol kacha mem yalon ko avec la banko la tamando la kolti ako kono le nada taraje nada kibarol moy ko sapin kandirol be ke kanne me yalon ko sojaro dol ba ko kurkur kan kada suñarol ke dinkiralto da mi yalon ko wala mu molla soto fengolu ani soto bulolu menu be dulalto taring ako to le nada ka do kol tala nyotema captain suara nyol yaitande ko pour sitano nyamenna ka murumul ke no sojarol nyi sitenko ni leman ya nyendila ko la ma kan lu be aseke fente mi alon ko akana montora wulu banku dingole ako tole nada fate ko prasita dinkrado dami alon ko wala mu Senegal la ambassador la korda nyindi me yalon ko wala be all Cape Road bakaw ako anata taje dalila kamala kibarol dita ko Senegal be sojarol kumben kanne pour kana dun Gambia banko kanjang kana sapin kandro keno nyin kudeta nyin ka ko nyin be bay ako etata nu wodinkra nyindo ako bari imanna ambassador nyin traje kabire tourner tan mina kam banjul drong etambitas dendim bridge la salo nyin na domandin drong nata ambassador nyinje ya londi wotuma anana ta kacha soto ka kalamtan dro kala ko simfanyal mi alon ko e batala nyunu men yakude ta keteng e la simfanya be kala fende mi alon ko ba banko la tanko nyina jubela anim fanan banko dingol fanan na e la tanko nyin o be kumaya bala ko nyin konole anim lafta men na wala nyinte ko ku kana soto membe munun tanyo ko 1981 kabrin kudeta kuro ketanu kasaro men nada ke banko kan ako ayala man yandiwa ako bar wolu lala Senegal ambassador man ku faye me men sha Allah man yandi amman hum faye man ha faye bara nata dar ko re men naje wala nyinti ko la kambe o nyin kono ko kurindi natara ko toliya fo aba ko nyin futandila ala nyaton ko mala Senegal ako natata wala nyama kabiri beje ako wati danta nyato drong nada kumandiro sotono o kumandiro nyin wo boda ambassador bulu pour citer danko ma jabir kuma kam mi alon ko ay wala soto kabira ay to lakibaro futani Senegal banko kan mo alaman sakunda yende ako nada taje montro minute tan saba e malafla silo soto no la pour ka dum bun kono abe sunda menna wala nyinde ko tanko bunda mem yalon ko wala be tamaka wodi kra nyindo amantra yon faring ako kabiri tata e dunta kono do e nata ta si saliba kono ambassador e kumol 5 men kata jabirode men boda Senegal anada itan ro kala fanko telephone numero be jere memu nunto Senegal wato ila president momenti Abdou Diouf ala telephone numero fanandila kon ni tata nyaton ko mi alon ko wala be sirin nun o wato la o kudeta la toyala memu ya jammeti e telephone numero diala ani Abdou Diouf senyo moy e telephone nada lemani akuma kan jama fo ka ya meritandi ambassador nyina ka fa ko asew futande ala moluma anim fana ase sankayandi ko e tolo e be tamala ko kurundina avec la banko la tinewaldi General Cham anada tendem fanan kasain kan droke ako ya jamme wolu lala so kutale ay telefono kata ani Abdou Diouf tema baraman keno ako asamo somanda anada Abdou Diouf kumandi diamutale fang ela kumo bunga ba dol fon ketanun faransi kanwalti ako nata lemani ya sotondi Senegal banko la lodula ani Gambia banko la karola membe dendindi wok data la ako Jabir kuma kam yalon ko wala boda president Abdou Diouf bolo wala nyinte ko abe parerine pour ninyin kuol tara fo atenkunda pour Gambia ni Senegal se tenteng etema badi ya nyin ko sunkuru anim fanan kaddo kuol ke la mansa kunda fulol jetolem kuma kan me yalon ko wala botanan let cancel bul esambay fal ay tandro ke ko de wato membeje aman jam fa bake sain pour ni nyin karobe membulu commission la karola e mari nyolu se nyin karo nyinke commission na sise ay mentandi je wala nyinte ko ako nyin karo membeje fanna nyinna fo General Cham akay ko ela miro man hakilo man fula nyin na fe namba kabiren tumala men na ete tata ete ena de fanje kudeta la dinkirato anum fana ete la dalilo momente ani la lonkango wala nyinte ko pour kaje banko nyin abe tankano la nyadile akay ko foy imanna fen soto je me alon ko wala hakil sikki sakode Jabir kuma kan me alon ko anata wala kabona General Chambulo akay ko kabrin sutero keta fenna me alon ko wala mu banko la kense yati makamu la karola me mu maral bulo nyindi akay wo mu fendi me alon ko wato wobe lankene marine bayrin kabrin kibaro dita ko president Jawara ning ala minister Jamalu wol be woni inspector general of police wodi wo wato la wol be bulata kulungo kono le ba kono kulungo ke kongolo Senegal aka waya itandile ko kene bala beje memu kense yaade maral bulo nyin na karola aka ko fanan ko bari ntelan kafunyi molma pour ka kuoku tamandi mbe banko la muna fangola jube kanje anim banko la nafa nyinte ka wolto jube bari ku juma skeno ke baro to me alon ko atay tora wulula banko e baras ke fendi me alon ko fanan wala be banko tala ka nafa ka tankandi woni sol atendenda fanan kanyin karo soto kabo commissiona boja mbulu akay ko de wato men nay Babukar Jata Edward Singate ya bay akay ko pro ay bojang akay fo etening Babukar Jata nata diamle bam akay ko ha nde me tandala wole nyindi ko al halo be tembo mendo comme mobuka kafa jusufa tay bar nyinu la ko be tembo mendo sante tel kudeta lalu fenne me alon ko amanjare pour moye bule ilaw kamfa noma wala na ako anara ako indama ko abe tembo mendo ni ajube entel la sojar la sarto la karola dinno buka keba kanyin hormanta ya sifal nyama bar nyindo ni aja be kala drong manikol kamen fo ni kuja kula sabu aka anata itandala wonyama purashita ami headquarters memula kunda bade asasi jay batun droke commissiona jallo afanan nata ka nyin karo mendi wala nyinti ko wato men na molu menu mu sojar ningolti kaytandirol ke kulla men yalon ko wala mu ila kole a kulti anim bata dalu menu yalon ko e be wollel kala mutakan no PPP man sakunda ako fo ate ako akay ko foete general mama ite general nyi enata ke moti me alon ko enene yo kuma kanol futandi nun maral bulo nyinnale memo politique nyaton kolti wala man sakundala nyaton kolu kaytandi la ko de sojarol de be sulare menula fengol to e me soto anum barada membe lari kan kabrabe jabiro nyinkela anata aytandi ko ate general Cham akay ko de mbetembo mendo o dinkirato nte nene man o silo soto bare ni ajube momembe maralin wo nyaton kaya makamola wol mun Nigerian wolti anu fanan to la sojar kundado mol katama ni la makamola na makamo maudina konte nyanda ka ku selendi mansala karola me alon ko abe bolani molubulu akay ko ntela dandula me menti wala nyinte ko ku me alon ka fota mbe maralin molu menu al karola nga safe nga di nyaton kola o nyaton ko fanan na lodula pour ka futandi o molu makata menu be santo wato nyinna tendenda fanan kaytandi ko o mu komanda nyinela do koti anu nyindulando mobuka mola samata dum ayo itandala commissioner Jones fana nyin karo na fe akode a fotala ko nikindirobe kala America bankola sojarolu memu bakono sojarolu anin Gambia fana na sojarolu ako bari kabrinyi ko de da ko fota sai o sojar fulol wolle kabrabe jabiro kala tendenda general Chama ko nyim American sojarol de alamaniata ko wolbenu ba kono le law kulun kono wolbenu wolto baden kabirin al halolu dolmen alon ko nata sute ani be ngunu kannu wolu nata ke moldi mi alon ko etarte la kulun nyina kono ako Gambia sojarol bari wol nyanda bola yundum barracks le ako alata ko fanan kabirin fano nyin keta dron wolu ngala somanda wo yundum barracks la al halo la yelemo ako ya aytandi la ko de o Gambia sojarol wol fanambe ila dinkra nyinto jele nyinen kardo me yalon ko wala botanan mobulu memo commissiona somebody ako fo wato menna ete ka fo ete general Cham eko eta ebe yundum barracks ebe farafenye wato ya jamme ata benum mentole general Cham aytande ko de ya jamme wo wato la ako ata benum zandam wala kono ata benum zandam ya makamo nyinel tamandi kan ako brier zandam ta ya a farafulati bari choki nyolo men sotota teben kambe men Gambia ni Senegal ya soto la confederation o wato ako kabiri wo ko nyin janjanda ako inara zanda molta ye dol samba police inara dol samba sojar kundaro akay ko wato ya jamme bo dinkra nyinato janning amina sojar yala ñinin karo do me alonko wala boda commissiona Kabul akode mbe ñinin karo kela nim fanna la me alonko wala mu mune al halal tarsa landiren non tombondiro la fanna la civilianolu menu mu ñin fani dum baloli ñinti Gambia banko dingol pour kam makamo dila ñim maral bulo me alonko sojarolu ya kumben 1994 wo ñin karo ñinto nada jabiro men soto kabonan general kabonan mobulu me yalon ko wala general momo chamti akode nyim dinkralon dami yalon ko 50 role be kelale anan awa futala fanna na kaytande ko akenota nyaadi le Gambia dingolu men yalon ko e manke soja rolti ye tombon kamaka moldila wo AFPRC man sakundala wato akode ye korosiro kele kaje ko e be sulala menula men mu Gambia dingolti anu manke sojarti e mari nyolu e be londo le sotla men yalon ko o londi bundani e tolu wane ata o fanna nyina anu fanan wo musula baleti pour ni dakata nyen sojar maralo nyin kono e saje bankola kuolo be topoto no la nyaadi anen katamandi badingol wolle kata kolti men yalon ko wolle kata nyin sia uche fanyo nyinto commission nyin na karola membe loren tonya 50 rola correspond tajirnte yalu anim matani ya kuolo nin tilimbali yalu mino keta men yalon ko keta mol menu nyala anim fanam menu yalon ko fanan tolle keta modi menu be ko nyim fanan kono kaw be tandi nyen TRRC mbal tendula mbal jayla mbay tandila alla ko zita fonyondi ngola dron nyin ala ke nim murtana siela sabanjao al halulata nyonya nyama mbay tandila alla le ala baraka bake ay Africa television o to yala lamin AFFS dabo al nimbara nsitanna studio to welengara fo nyato